Hey, what's up? What's up? Let me make sure that I can hear myself. And how y'all doing? Good afternoon. Okay, it's all good with the mic. How y'all doing? How are y'all doing? Let me go ahead into it. Now, there's this show, um, Love Island. It's this American TV series. Yeah, Love Island or Love Island USA. It's described as an American dating reality show based on the British series Love Island. Yeah, Love Island USA season 7 that I watched. That's the only season that I watched, and I watched it because everybody was up in here, um, especially a lot of black females who I may follow and notice in YouTube world, social media world. Everybody was talking about it, and so I got curious. Usually, I don't watch shows such as, and I do not recommend as a person of my faith. I don't recommend watching the show because I don't really think it has much to do with love, and it's more about lust and because I'm about love and marriage and family and all of that. But it's just basically like a dating show or a show where people can hook up, basically. Although it's called Love Island, where you're supposed to find love, and yeah, it's basically where they put all these people together, like in a situation on an island. A certain amount of males match with a certain amount of females. Like let's say like seven, like 5 to 7 guys and 5 to 7 girls. Understand, this was my first time watching seasons and watching this show was season 7, which aired like what was it, late last year? Was it? Was it sometime last year? Um, Although I do believe it's into a new season now. But I went on and checked it out to see what everybody was talking about with his whole Nicolandria. And let me tell you the story of Nicolandria. Yeah, so basically it's one of the shows where they set up people, seeing who would end up with who and who would who, what coupling they would have them in. They have them choose couples that they would be with these strange people they've supposedly never met before, and they choose who they were going to be with, and initially, and then they have them doing these little challenges, these like sexually charged challenges, like a kissing challenge or something, and yeah, and they'll even have them in the show where they'll allow them to sleep in the same room and perhaps even the same bed. They're even allowed to have sex on the show. Yeah, if they wanted to. Yeah. But anyways, in the end, they hope to get this winning. People are coupled up, and there will be this one winning couple, right? That the fans will vote for, and everyone likes. Yeah. But anyways. So let me go into. So I went on and watched to see what everybody was talking about. Like, what the heck is Nicolandria? Who is Alandria? Who's this woman they keep showing? Everybody's talking about, especially and there were a lot of conversations around colorism and all that. And so yeah, I had to check it out to see what everybody talking about, because these are things I kind of talk about anyway. Yeah, so let me tell you the story what led to Nicolandria. Make sure once again, since nobody, let me make sure. Okay, what led to Nicolandria. All right, so on the show you had Taylor and Alandria. They who was it? Did they allow the ladies to choose first? Yeah, they allowed the ladies to choose first. Now Alandria, she is this young sister. Um, Yeah, I believe she's a sorority sister. She's from Alabama, referred to herself as the Bama Barbie. And she expressed the liking for Southern boys, right? For cowboys. She has an attraction to like, well, like Southern boys, like a cowboy. She expressed, and listening to her, even though she didn't mention race or anything like that, I would assume that she's into to the brothers, or just men that she can relate more to, like herself. So men who would be of her culture, of her ethnicity. Yeah, brothers. And so in walks, you got Taylor here, who is also, wait, where is he from? Was he from? He's from Oklahoma, I believe. Yeah, and his family like has a horse ranch. Yeah, his family like has a horse ranch. He's kind of like a cowboy. He has a cowboy hat on, and he's into horses. And yeah, and she's very much attracted to him. So this is who she chooses to be with. And it seemed like they got great chemistry. They're like these besties from the jump. They have this like really really great chemistry as friends. They seem to really be digging each other. Really well. They definitely compatible as friends. But one thing I did notice was that I didn't really see much romance, but they were very they seemed to I thought it was a good thing to start out as friends. And also she said that she kind of wanted to take things slow, and but eventually, yeah, she does want him to just show a little more intimacy with her. And she's not saying that she wanted to have sex with him or anything like that right away, but just wanted to get a little more romance, because it did seem like he was like playful. And in watching the season, initially watching the season, not knowing what everybody was talking about, okay, I just know that in the end, all I knew is like she ends up hooking up with this white guy Nick. So I just was curious, and why is everybody talking about this? What makes this coupling? What makes this so special? So I'm watching, and for a while, because I didn't see how that how they would have ended. She would have ended up with this guy. Watching it from the beginning, yeah, they seem to have this chemistry, but it's very playful. He's very playful with her. And even my husband, got we're both goofy, right? And I've been with guys that are really, really playful, not don't seem very romantic. Not saying that that's my husband, but I'm just saying I've been with guys, you know what I'm saying, and just seem to be goofy. And it doesn't mean that they're heterosexual guys that just not very intimate. And so that's how I kind of took it initially. Like he's kind of like a big kid, almost like when you think of the movie Big, because he actually was a child in a man's body, Tom Hanks' character. And so yeah, yeah. But her being the feminine woman that she is, although she really likes this guy, and she loves their friendship and everything, and she loves being with him and playing with him and all of that. But yeah, she's kind of feeling like, I could use a little romance. You can like you can call me beautiful, compliment me on how I look, kiss my hand, something a little more, because it just seemed more playful with them, right? And I wasn't thinking nothing of it. I'm just thinking, okay, there's some guys that's like that, they just it's almost like they don't know how to really be romantic, or even, even really they don't really know how to show uh that interest like that. You know what I'm saying? That desire like that. And there's nothing wrong with a female wanting to feel desired. There's nothing really wrong with that. Like I explained to brothers when they come as sisters, when we confront the music videos, not having sisters that we can relate to, especially if you're let's say like a darker skinned sister, and you just want to see, especially if it is a music video representing our culture, our music, the music that come from our people and our culture. So you want to see people in the video reflecting, the music, the culture, right? So you would expect to see more black women who has an aesthetic that represent the majority. There's absolutely nothing wrong with that. Like if I'm watching a heavy metal music video, I expect to see, I'm going to expect to see more white people in the video. You understand what I'm saying? More white people who, and not white people, not just white people who look like, or not just Caucasian people who look like the Kardashians. If you understand what I'm saying, and who or maybe are ambiguous looking. Do you understand? Yeah. So when black women, when we talk about that, you'll have brothers. Well, what is it? You want to be what? You want to be a hoe in the video? What you want to be seen as a hoe? It's not about whether the females in these music videos, like for instance hip hop videos, whether they are shown as uh, you know wives or as just interest of sexual desire. It's just the fact that you're showing that this is not what you desire, whether it be for wife, girlfriend, sex, or whatever. There's nothing wrong with women wanting to feel desired. Okay, of course we want more than to just be lusted after, but it is natural for a woman to want to feel as if she is desired by a man, just as it is natural for a man to want to feel a heterosexual man to want to feel desired by a woman. But anyways, I didn't think nothing of it watching the show because I knew guys, like it's kind of goofy, almost like they gotta kind of be taught on how to court a woman and make a woman feel, sexy, and we all want to, especially if we're really liking and feeling this guy. And you could tell that Alondra was really feeling this guy. She just kind of wanted him to step it up. It wasn't like she was trying to jump in bed with him. She just wanted him to step it up when it came to the romance and showing that he was a little more attracted to her on an intimate tip. She just wanted him to step up a little bit, but she was still cool with it. And so they would do things in the show where they would bring new people. I forgot I don't know the terminology of the show. I can't recall. I forgot what they would call them. Like a newbie they would bring to the show a little further into the season. They'll bring someone else to test or to see if if the person is more compatible with this other person. So they'd have them like swap mates for a minute or something like that, just to see if there's like bringing in someone new. So they had brought in this guy, and he said that he came to the show. I guess I don't know. What do? Did they record this show as people are watching? I don't know, but he said he came on the show for Laundry. He had been watching her, and he's this guy Jalen who was really he came to the show for Laundry. That's what he said. He was watching her, he's digging her, he's feeling her and everything. But being that she already was attached to Taylor, even though she liked it, even though Jalen was a nice guy, she had nothing against him. She saw him as attractive and all, but she was already hooked on Taylor. Her mind was made up. This was the cowboy that she wanted, right? So even though, and you can see Jalen's an attractive brother here, and as is Taylor, don't get me wrong. But she was so into, even though Jalen, he made it clear, I'm here for you and I want you. So you gotta understand, in the beginning, they had the girls to choose, as I recall. So she chose Taylor. You understand? It wasn't a thing necessarily of Taylor choosing her. She chose Taylor, and he decided to stick with her. But now that she had the chance to hook up with someone new, she still wanted to, even though. So they eventually had to send him home, Jalen. And she wanted to stay with Taylor, because that's who she was into. Hey, how you doing, Adam? Yeah, so she still chose to. So then they had them sometime along the show. I'm trying to recall everything. So then they had them separated. The couple separated. Okay, they had the males separated from the females, and on totally different like islands or whatever, or totally different in totally different villas rather. And they gave them all a set of totally different partners to test the waters, if you will, like to set it up, like Temptation Island or something, whatever, because they got another show called Temptation Island. Again, this is my only time watching this season. It's the only time I care to watch this show, because I usually don't like such shows. But everybody was talking about it, so I had to see what everybody was talking about. But anyways, yeah. So they separate the couple, the males from the females, put them in different villas, and then they send a whole new crop of temptation for them, right? So this new female comes along, Clark, lovely young lady here. And yeah, while Olandria is away at another villa, and they also had a guy, I guess, like for Olandria, but Olandria, the whole time she's talking like, oh, I can't wait to get back to my boo Taylor. She ain't even thinking about nobody else. She can't wait to, she just can't wait till they get back together and she be with him and everything. However, this new girl, Clark, Taylor is like, he's right away into her. They're right away into each other. And she's a lovely girl. Don't get me wrong. She seems like a sweetheart. But right away, there's chemistry, right? And they are all lovey-dovey. Now, remember I said initially when he wasn't being intimate with Olandria, I was like, okay, well, because I used to date someone who wasn't all that, but you know what I'm saying? Some guys are like that. They're not all that. And I was cool with it, but we had kind of almost like more of a friendship, buddy, you know. It didn't never really get all intimate. It was kind of like that with with an ex of mine. So I kind of understand guys that are like that, playful. But I'm like, wait a minute, hold up. Oh, he knows how to be intimate. He's like right off the bat. He's totally starry eyed. He's like right off the bat. He's like goo goo gaga over her, and it had only been like 3 days. But right off the bat, he was like, and he knew how to kiss her. He knew how to be affectionate. I'm like, oh, so I'm realizing he I guess he wasn't attracted to her like that. I guess he wasn't attracted to her. Alondria like that. I'm telling you, this show, this had to be some really good acting or something. If this was a script, because it's like this whole season here was a psyops. Because I question any and everything. So I'm going to always look at things as perhaps being scripted. Because also you got to understand when you're watching this show, you're going to get it, it's a very long, oh my gosh. It's a long series. It's like 30 episodes. Like a long soap opera into one supposedly short series. This is like that's more episodes than Roots. But yeah, and then I just happened to catch a cold watching it. So I really got into it. It probably caught a cold just watching them swap and spit and stuff. Because I'm like, oh my God, I could not do no show like that when you're expected to kiss all these strange people. That is so germy. But anyway, I'm sure they test them and all that. But yeah, you got to do these challenges, kissing people and stuff. But yeah, so I'm like, this is a science, because you got to understand, watching the show, you get attached to them. And Alondra is a very nice person. So of course, and me being a black woman myself and relating to her just as a sister and as a woman, and feelings as a woman, and she's very likable. She's a very likable person, intelligent, witty. She's got charisma. She's funny. And so I like Alondria. So of course I'm feeling for Alondria and I'm feeling bad for her. I'm like, this show is wrong. This is messing with my head here. This is a psyops. It must be a psyops, So of course, if you're watching this show, and I like Taylor too. Don't get me wrong. I liked him too. He's funny and kind of reminded me of an ex of mine. He's funny and everything. Yeah, but like in the case of the ex, I guess I can say I wasn't really in love with him for those reasons. But I realized with that ex, that's why we're not together now. I kind of realized that it was, more of a friendship. I realized that I don't think I had those feelings. It was more of us being friends. But anyways, yeah, but the thing is, this is the problem I have. He could have told her. It's very much obvious that, okay, if let's play along, let's go along with the show. Okay, let's say that we believe that this is all real. All right, ain't nothing scripted, right? So we believe this is all real. So I'm gonna play along, right? And ain't nothing scripted, right? So yeah, the problem I got, if like if it was a thing where you just wasn't feeling her. So I'm still thinking, okay, there's got to be something more, you know. So eventually they have this episode, and let me just where he has to like make a choice. Yeah, so yeah, he showed himself to be very intimate with this. So he knew how to be romantic. He knew how to be. I mean, he was like off the bat with Clark, and she's a very nice girl. Nothing wrong with her. She, you know, she was just invited to this, or she just tried out for the, you know, and she didn't know Alondra because Alondra by this time, you know, was separated on another villa. She wasn't trying to hurt nobody, nothing like that. So I ain't got nothing against her necessarily. I just got something against these people getting on these type of shows. Period. But anyways, yeah, so he has to make a choice now that they've brought everybody back together. You know, they're all so she had, you know, she's made it clear. Alondra has made it clear she only wants to be with Clark, right? She's all, oh, I can't wait to get back to my boo. And she's thinking that he feels the same way about her, right? But he's now all Google Gaga into Clark. And despite how the image looks here, you know, neither one of these women are bad, okay? Okay. You know, Clark is not this Jezebel, you know, it's just bad being on a show like this, period. Okay. Yeah, so we see, okay, let me to show you how, you know. All right. So he's kind of making it known that he wants to be with this new girl, even though it's only been like 3 days, although he has been like, what was it, a month or so, like a month with Olandria, but he's become enamored by this new girl. All right. So let's fair use. Let me just give you a clip. If federal law allows fair use. Fair use is allowed for purposes of criticism, news reporting, teaching, and parody, which doesn't infringe of copyright under 17 USC 107. Copyright disclaimer. All right, fair use is use permitted by copyright statute that might otherwise be infringing. Nonprofit, educational, or personal use tips the balance in favor of fair use. Let me just try to share with y'all, perhaps from TikTok or whatever. Let me share with y'all. Okay, y'all can see this, right? So now understand, Olandria, although charismatic, witty, charming, she's kept her composure. She's not, you know, she never yelled or anything like that in this show. She comes off very classy, although charismatic. But for the first time, you know, and when it comes to like emotions like anger, she's more reserved. You never saw her angry in the show or anything, but this is the first time you see Olandria kind of snapping. If
I was moving like Taylor won't fucking be here. When Jalen was here, I reassured this man every motherfucking day he didn't do shit. If I was moving like Taylor won't fucking be here. When Jalen was here, I reassured this man every motherfucking day he didn't do shit for me. He's a dangerous game. Since this girl be here, I have been so motherfucking real with Taylor. I cannot express how fucking angry I've been. Dangerous game. I've been holding this shit together. I've been taking shit on the chin every motherfucking day, being dumped left and motherfucking right. Not once did I ever question my worth. What do you need from me? What do you need from this fucking connection? You couldn't say shit. Nice in the size and a girl get in here and give you fucking 3 days of attention, you fucking go. If I was moving like Taylor.
Okay, all right. So, you know, they're letting him know you got to make a decision, you know, so this is how he responds. You know,
so
you choose
your chart. Well, since y'all making my mind right now, I think Clark.
Woo! So, you know, the famous, or now it's become the I pick Clark. Okay, so if you know where that came from, if you're hearing people, if you're seeing that being said around the internet or whatever, this is where it comes from. The whole I pick Clark, and the way he just says it, you know. And I like Taylor. I felt he's real cool. I still like him, but I'm like, wow, it's kind of cold blooded, dude. You know. Especially, you know, we've all watched the show become invested, and how can you just in 3 days, like somebody you've been with for a month, and you know, we've watched the chemistry, you know. Yeah, and he was the way I picked Clark. Like,
Well, since y'all making my mind right now, I pick Clark.
yeah, so hey, Mr. Urban World. Oh, thank you. Thank you. Appreciate the support, brothers. Um, so yeah, so I picked Clark. uh and I want you to check out this little video here. Someone made a reality reactions. Every joke has a little bit of truth. Now, remember I said that, Taylor was just a jokey joke, really jokey joke with Alondria. So someone made a video saying that she should have picked up, she should have taken the hint right here with him supposedly joking. Okay, he going out of his way to tell you he don't like you. Okay.
We don't even have a handshake. Ain't that something? Me? I don't got a handshake with nobody.
So she's saying, like basically, I can at least can I get a handshake? I don't know if y'all picking that up.
We don't even have a handshake. Ain't that something? Me? I don't got a handshake with nobody. Maybe you just don't like. Maybe. Maybe. We don't.
So you see how he's playing with her. She's like, we don't even have a handshake. She's playing with him. They're used to goofing off with each other. And even I'm like Olandria watching the show. Even I'm not picking up on it. I'm making excuses. I'm like, well, some people, when she was talking about him not, she would like for him to be just a little more affectionate, intimate, like just showing that, compliment her how she looks, something more. And I'm like, he's just one of them playful, like a big old kid, kind of like a boy, like his first time crushing on a girl, a young boy, kind of. Yeah. And he says, yeah. So she's like, and so he jokes, maybe you're just not light. Ha 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 ha. And she's like, maybe. So they're basically saying in this little short, they're pointing out like he's going out. This is, okay, because the title of this, every joke has a little bit of truth.
I don't even have a handshake. Ain't that something? Me? I don't got a handshake with nobody. Maybe you just don't like. Maybe. Maybe. We don't even have a.
So you heard him. Maybe you're just not liked. Ha ha ha. And he's.
Maybe you just don't like. Maybe.
Okay. So of course, in hindsight, but yeah, what's worse with the whole I picked Clark.
Since y'all making my mind right now, I pick Clark.
So and this is and what's really embarrassing is how this is carried out. Yeah, there's another response that someone made.
Since y'all making my mind right now, I pick Clark.
That was embarrassing. I really hope you're embarrassed.
Since y'all making my mind right now, I pick Clark.
That was embarrassing. I really hope you're embarrassed.
Okay, so you see why people are talking about this. One other video.
Roses are red. You a mark in the park.
I pick Clark.
So you got a lot of black women, come to find a lot of young black women watching this and, probably seeing themselves somewhat vicariously through Olandria, because even myself watching this, seeing myself kind of through her. And then this, I pick Clark, and then you got these exoticos. Even though Clark, I see her as a black woman, just as I see Olandria, I don't see nothing any more exotic, especially as a black American woman. I don't see anything any more exotic about, but they're using this also to taunt those who they believe are unambiguous black women with the I pick Clark. Yeah, so you see here, there are memes and gifs now. I pick Clark. Look at this. You even got little kids with like, what? I just typed in I pick Clark, and this comes up.
pick Clark. I'll pick Clark. I'll pick Clark. I'll pick Clark.
Yeah, so I'm like, oh my goodness. What is it? Why? How are they even knowing about this? How do they even? They're not even supposed to be knowing about a show like this, or they probably don't make. I'm going to assume they don't know where it comes from. I'd rather believe that. But yeah. So, anyways, getting back to with the I pick Clark. So, of course, he chooses. He just let him know what's up. Yo, I'm rolling with this new girl, Clark. I pick Clark. So, yeah, and also there is an elimination process in this show. If you end up not having a person you're coupled with over time, one by one, or two by two, they get rid of people on the show, right? Until they narrow it down to the couple to a certain amount of couples. Yeah, they keep bringing in new people to tempt them, and then they pull out people. So, being that Alondra was left by herself, there was no one at the. She didn't choose this guy here because she wanted to be with Clark. When they separated them in different villas, she didn't choose. There was no one else that she hooked up with. So Alondra, and being that, and he picked Clark over her, so she had to go. She had to, be eliminated, and also there's a chance of winning money with the show too. That's how there's another incentive involved. But she had to, so she of course she's devastated, and she has to leave the show. And it just happened to be also another person who had to leave the show, a guy who also had to leave the show at the same time with this guy here, Nick. Now he was coupled with no one. He had the female that he was with, the girl on the left, Sierra. She was this Mexican female. She was booted from the show. So the girl he was hooked up with, she was booted from the show. I guess people later found out that that she had said some racist things on Asian people. It was found online. So I don't know. It's almost like this was set up. It was almost like this was set up. I don't know. Yeah. So they were booted at the same time, Nick and Alondra. However, when they were leaving, and it was a really sad episode because everybody loved Alondra. All the girls loved Alondra and all that. So it was a really Shelly's crying and everything, who was like her best friend and all. So as they're leaving, they have a limo waiting for Nick and Alondra, and they tell them that they have them meet together to have like this dinner together and stuff, like where they're thinking that they're about to go home. So they have them hooked up and going together, and they're giving them a chance that they could get back on the show, but they would have to get back together as a couple. Now they were already friends, okay? They were already, within the same circle of friends, so they were already cool with each other, right? So they're like, shoot, why not? So they, also there's an incentive to win money. So they're like, okay, we can bring you back to the show, but secretly, we can bring you back. Yeah, but you got to be a couple. So they bring them back to the show, but they got to be a couple together. But eventually, in them being a couple, Nick reveals that he was always digging Alondra. He was always crushing on her from day one. And that's why he would always choose her first to do certain challenges, like where they're blindfolding people and kissing them and stuff like that. He reveals to her, and she's like, "Oh, no way, Nicky Poo, really?" So she's like, "No way, I didn't know this, Nicky Poo." And so, although they did not, so they end up, I guess, actually, so she eventually starts developing feelings for him. And there are people who are questioning, and they still question to this day. And they're one of the few couples that are still together. And actually, and these two are pretty much, as far as I know, still together. So whereas I think pretty much the majority of the couple, all of them from that season, they're pretty much, even though some people, I think, because they had the little Love Island reunion or this after Beyond the Villa or something, and I checked that out. Yeah, they're of the only coupling. Yeah, the very few couples. I think there's only 3 from that season that were still together. Now they were not although they did not win. Even the winning couple that won the money, Amaya and her guy, they are no longer together. Yeah, they fell apart. Even by the time of the reunion, I think they were no longer together. Although Nick and Alondria didn't end up winning the prize in the end, they are the most talked about coupling from that show. They're still, and they've went on. Yeah, Alondria, she's everywhere now. She's on the red carpet. She's, surprisingly though, she didn't do the Met Gala or whatever, but she's everywhere. You're hearing Nick Alondria, just like Brad Jelena. Everyone's talking Nick and Alondria, Nick Alondria. They're making the cover of, yeah, she's got all these business ventures now. It's more so Alondria that's blown up even more so. And I love the fact that she's being promoted as glamorous and beautiful. And I love what I'm seeing. I'm not so much for Nick Alondria, and I ain't got nothing against Nick. He seemed like he was cool and all, but there are people who are questioning, is this relationship real? Now you have those who believe, oh, there's no way this white guy like this black man. It's not about me believing, it's not about me thinking, oh, there's no way that Nick could like Alondria. No. A lot of times, no, I know. I'm gonna tell you because I have, my late sister. She was a swirler. And I had friends of mine, like one friend of mine, she was slender, very petite, but with a nice body, much like Alondria, dark skin like Alondria. And I'm gonna tell you, we used to go into clubs and stuff. This friend, like back in the 90s, early 2000s, white dude, she was like a white guy magnet. I'm not saying that she had to chase white men, but they were flocking to her. So I know what I'm talking about. Yeah. So that wouldn't surprise me that he was. It's about what, if I'm going to question anything as being fake. I don't believe that Alondria was all that attracted to him. I'm not saying that she hates him or anything like that. I'm not saying that they're not friends or that they argue or but I really don't think that. I think Nick is open to whatever. But I do think he would, from watching that show, I do think that he would have more of a potential to cheat. However, because he did seem to move on from Sierra very easily, even though they seem very connected. But I think he's just one of them taste the rainbow types or whatever. It don't matter, on race or whatever. But with her, I do think that, because unless this was a really good act, I do think that what she was feeling and what she was expressing, I do think she did have feelings for Taylor. I do think that I just believe that she's more into the brothers. That's just my opinion. But one thing I recognize, that Alondria is a businesswoman. I'm gonna keep it real. I believe that she is a very intelligent woman and she's a businesswoman. And some people, oh, well, this is fake, this and that. But you know what? You got to understand, in this world we're living in, what's love got to do with it? You understand what I'm saying? There are a lot of marriages even together, people together, out of convenience, out of security, you understand what I'm saying? And as long as they feel we ain't fighting each other, as long as they believe the sex is good. I'm not saying that that's the way the Most High necessarily intended things to be. And we're definitely, and you know me, I believe I'm not going to be promoting Nick Alondria. Okay, I may promote and support as a sister Olandria, but I'm not promoting Nick Alondria. And it's nothing personally against Nick, but me knowing what I know and what I believe with the scriptures and what it teaches on Yasharel, being with Yasharel, but that's a whole nother subject. But anyways, yeah, so they are definitely, even if they didn't exactly win the ultimate prize in the end for the show, they have become the most popular, talked about coupling since then. And definitely, and it's Olandria, and you see with this glamour, they're making Glamour magazine, and you see she's kind of like a prize. And I've also talked about what I believe the agenda is behind that. I do feel like this show has been a psyops. Have everybody talking about it just this season alone. And almost like they've become They're promoting them like almost like this power couple, like this celebrity couple, although they just came from this reality show. But as we know, a lot of these people in reality TV, they have become like just like in social media, this is the new celebrity now. But see, what is this saying though? Like I said, I feel like the show was a psyops. Whether it was all scripted out or whether it was scripted out or not, it has definitely been used, because I can't lie, the way that I'm feeling in my mind watching, feeling very hurt for Alondria as a sister. But let me show now what I want to talk about. And we gotta, and this is the thing, it doesn't matter. Y'all gotta understand. Yeah, it matters to me, and I mean, but when it goes to the powers that be, it doesn't matter whether or not they're this real couple actually living together, this and that, actually loving each other as we feel a couple should love each other. They don't care as long as it works for propaganda, if it works for television, if it is enough to have, let's say like black women and even white men, because I believe that they're also doing this. This is not just to get in the minds of black women, but also white men. Because what I've told y'all is that this idea that white men and white people control the world, that's bull. Okay. And I've said Edom, aka Esau, was not originally white. Okay, this is more of a spiritual warfare on Yah and Yah's chosen people. It's more of a spiritual warfare. So it doesn't matter if they were not actually, as long as if it's enough, if it's enough to have young sisters looking at this, fantasizing, having daydream. You understand what I'm saying? Seeing themselves vicariously. That's all that really matters. So y'all can do all the videos all you want to, the exotic, all of that. That don't matter. Oh, I don't think they really know that. That don't matter. As long as they're working together, as long as you understand what I'm saying. And at the same time, she knows she's getting offers and this. She may not even really have the feelings like that. And I'm not saying this to slam Alondra, but I see that she's a businesswoman. And she's like, hey, I'm not arguing with this guy. I'm not, So, even if she would actually prefer to be with someone like a Taylor or a Jalen, and I worry about her because I don't want her to be just, turned into just this. I'm glad that her beauty is being, and her aesthetic is being promoted, and she is being promoted aesthetically, and her style and all of that, because she is very beautiful. But I don't want her being exploited like as just this sex kitten. You understand what I'm saying? Or just this something, because I do believe that they're also, when I used to think, oh no, they're not gonna, white men ain't gonna, they're gonna stick to that. No, the enemy, they're trying to divide us all, including white men. I do think that they are trying to promote black women to be for white men more so. Okay. I do think that's also part of the agenda. But anyways, getting back to hey, you doing TKC? Right. Let me see what you're saying here. You're saying it's good that she's being promoted, but they definitely, exactly. They're going to promote beautiful black women, unambiguous, beautiful black women, but they're not trying to promote us together. They want to promote black women, making them more. And I even question things, even with these exoticals channels, because they are doing everything. Like the thing is, who are they trying to? It's really hard to say. They're about decentering men, but it's like there's a promotion to get black women to get skinny, but for who? Not just get healthy. Not just now. It's one thing if, and y'all say that's a good thing, but it's like they want black women, like almost like, because I question something with these exoticals channel, almost like it's a grooming thing that they're trying to do. But for who? For what? Now, in the case of exoticals, they've also been talking to this decentering men. But anyways, getting back to and talking about the preference, getting back to the whole thing with Taylor, getting back and his preference. All right. Now, He never said. Taylor never. It was never said that. He never said, "Oh, he." We can't prove that he is necessarily a colorist, right? Yeah, it's understand. The assumption is totally understood. Totally understood. Okay, I understand. Especially, it's not like we don't know our people and we don't know how we've been brainwashed. So many of us. I'm gonna look at everything. Them being from the South, I'm gonna look at everything. How now? I don't see her. I don't see either sister as any more ambiguous. You know what I'm saying? Is just Taylor got the lighter skin. Okay, I see Clark as, especially as a Black American woman, they could have that same percentage. Clark is about my complexion, right? I'm around. We're around the complexion. I might be a little lighter, but we're around the same complexion, right? And I am by ethnicity, I would be, although I know that we should be referring to ourselves as Yasharel as opposed to just Black, but I am by law, I am a Black American female. Okay. My DNA results show me as being matched with, over 95% of my DNA has me matched up with sub-Saharan African. Okay. 95% with my last ancestry.com DNA results, which I have shared with you guys. Okay. So my DNA percentage match up with sub-Saharan Africa is higher than even a lot of Black Americans even. Okay. 95%. I just happen to have, lighter skin, right? We know this can happen, right? I'm showing you people. So I don't see Taylor as any more exotic than as Alondra. In fact, I kind of see Alondra as more, considering how I remember exotic being. I actually kind of see Olandra is a little more exotic looking by how I defined exotic initially, but to Black Americans, I don't see one as being any more exotic than the other. Despite making the decide how it may seem, yeah, and considering that Clark is she's around my color complexion, right, and we are Black American, and we deserve love too. We we're both heterosexual women. We deserve to be with someone. And if we choose to be with someone within our own race, within our own ethnicity, it is more than likely that we are going to end up with someone darker than ourselves, because our complexion don't represent the majority. Okay. So I'm only saying this because I'm not mad at Clark, and I'm not, and it is highly likely. You got some of these guys up in here. Like there are some people who have channels where they claim that they're representing light-skinned men. Well, most of these guys, I think they're mixed though. Okay. Although when they're saying light skin, they're thinking Black or Black adjacent or mixed with Black. Do you understand? When they're saying light skin, right? So they're thinking biracial, and they're thinking, but I just noticed that a lot of them happen to be mixed though, or more directly mixed, not just having admixture. But then some of them may be fooling us. I don't know. But there are some who believe that, you got light-skinned women catering to dark-skinned men. You got to understand, if they are a Black woman and if they are still part of the Black ethnicity, because understand, in the United States, you're not just quote-unquote Black by race, okay, or lineage, or what's in your DNA, or what's your family. It's also about ethnicity. Black in the United States. That's why they ask, they have the question in with Hispanic people. Not only do they choose, well, they have that hit Black not of Hispanic origin, or white not of Hispanic origin. So understand why Black is a race and it's an ethnicity. So you do have people who are even biracial, Black, white, but they see themselves Black by ethnicity. Like in the case of my niece, whose father is Ukrainian. She's biracial, but she's of the Black ethnicity. Ethnicity has more to do with not just your family and your lineage, but it's also about your culture. It's about your, it's about the language you speak, the food you eat, your customs, your traditions, all of that. that goes more into ethnicity. So there are people who are of the black ethnicity. Of course, you have to be of the black lineage to some degree to be of the black ethnicity. You can't just because there's white people who can say, oh, well, I grew up with a black family, like on the movie The Jerk. I was born a poor black child. No, it don't work like that. You still have to have like a black parent or something, to be of the black ethnicity. But yeah. But anyways, what I'm saying is, okay, like if you have a female, whether she's like me, black, but just happen to be of a lighter complexion. But definitely like in the case of a person, let's say a female who is biracial, let's say black, white, biracial, that is. And yeah, and she is of the black ethnicity. Let's say she was raised, like in the case of my niece, just around, who has no connection with the Ukraine, and in fact, we thought he was from Russia. So you know what I'm saying. And that was not of her choice or even our choice. You understand? We just chose to raise her. My mama chose to raise her, but so she is more with the black ethnicity. So guess what? More than likely, my niece is going to be with a black man, or someone who is mixed with black, but also of the black ethnicity. Even if he's biracial, more than likely that's who my niece would be with. Her husband, she is a black man, and yeah, because that's what she can relate to more. So culturally and all, it's not just, and that's what she's been used to seeing. So that may also be, she may have become attracted to, because that's part of the culture she grew up with. My niece, I've been exposed to more Caucasian people than my niece have, actually. She's went to an all black high school, whereas I had the experience of living in the suburbs and all of that when I was younger. My niece did not. You know what I'm saying? So she's been around nothing for the most part but black people. Yeah. So so what I'm saying is, in the case of Clark, like, and just speaking on behalf of it, is so I'm not mad at Clark. All right, I'm not mad at Clark. It's this. So I'm just saying this is not about Clark, who is not biracial, by the way. This is not about Clark. And so a sister like Clark, just like me, my husband happened to be darker skinned. On our daughter's father, who was my high school boyfriend, he was light skinned. He was Clark's complexion, maybe a little light. Yeah, he's about Clark's complexion. My daughter's father. Yeah, he was Clark's complexion. My ex was brown skinned, and my husband just happened to be light skinned. I mean, dark skinned. That's just how it turned out. And it is likely that someone like Clark and myself, we're more likely to end up with someone who may be darker than ourselves. All right, because that is the phenotype, that is the complexion that represents the majority. So I'm only saying this to say, it is say that this is not about Clark. I think she's a sweet woman. I just question people, period, getting on these shows. All right. I think she's a very sweet girl, and they're still together. So some could say, like I'm reading in this Facebook post, someone posted, everyone is hating on Taylor. I get we all love Alondria, but Alondria said herself, Taylor and I are building a friendship first. Before Clark, wait, am I sharing the right? Hold on. Share the right image as I'm reading this. All right. Before Clark, Taylor had no other option but to build on a friendship. He had no other choices. That's why he stayed in his couple. Okay. And see, this is something too that people are pointing out. Did he only stay with Alondria to stay on the show to try to win the $1 million? Also, not $1 million. You know what I'm saying? I'm thinking Survivor. It was okay. Well, I forgot what the money prize was with this show. What was it, like 100,000? I don't know. Did he just okay? Because some people are questioning, he only stayed with Alondra. Yeah, this is what I had a problem with. If he didn't like her from the get-go, because he talks in interviews like he was never attracted to her. And I'm like, wow, he liked her as a friend or whatever, and I was like, dang, it's like that. So only thing, what I was mad at Taylor about, then why didn't you just up front and let her go? She could have hooked up with Jalen. She could have, why didn't you just let her go if that's the case? But that's me playing along with this show. All right. I'm just playing along with the show. Let's pretend everything's real and it's okay to do a show like this. So going from that, I just feel like, don't string her along. And some people, this makes for a deeper conversation on, are black men just being with black women now, stringing black women along. This is what some people think now. This is what is also being this. I'm not saying this is what I think, but I'm just saying it's sparked the conversation. Like, are black men just being with, let's say, like a darker skinned black women because they feel that this is all they can get for now, so that they can stay in the show, so they can, you understand. But if they had the option of, let's say, Clark or whatever they see as better than, or more of a trophy to them, if they had the option, like if they had more money, if another girl was brought on the island, would they in a second jump and leave like a heartbeat, you know letting it be known that this is their preference. Yeah, and I'm not saying that I believe that, black men in general, I'm not saying that, but this has been the conversation, which is why I do feel that we do need to question what might be behind our preferences. But yeah, but like someone said, everyone's hating on Taylor. I get, we love Alondria, but she said herself, Taylor and I are building a friendship first. Before Clark, Taylor had no other option but to build on a friendship. He had no other choices. That's why he stayed in his couple. They both kept saying, we started as friends, but Taylor found someone he liked better than a friend. Why does everyone hate him for that? Okay. All right. Yeah, of course, when you see how it went with the whole I picked Clark, yeah, and this is a show. And that's the thing. When it boiled down to it, you get on a show like this is a show. This is a yeah, and they are still together. I do feel that they got real feelings, because there's things that Clark want to do, but he wants her to stay in his. I watched that Beyond the Villa, and so it tells me that she does. Yeah, they're utilizing the opportunity of being on the show. Yeah, whether it's helping them in social media or whatever. Like, she wants to do more modeling and stuff. But I could tell she does care for him, because yeah, some people saying that she's putting her size to be with him pick shoveling horse doo-doo and stuff. Whereas he got his mind set. He wants to be a veterinarian or whatever. He's going to school and everything, but she wants to be in LA. She doesn't feel there's opportunity for her in Oklahoma. So she must care about him, even though some people are calling her stupid, but she must care about him, being that she's still with him. So I do believe their relationship is real. And I'm not, who am I to try to stand in the way of what may be a real connection based on love? Or, even if it was initially about desire or attraction, physical attraction. I mean, it got to start somewhere. Hey, how you doing, this with TV? Yeah, what we were talking about, it kind of made me want to talk about this little further on preferences. Yeah. So again, yeah, what she, yeah, no, I'm not mad at, because okay, there was no, he didn't exactly say that anything to allude to him necessarily being a colorist. We can't exactly prove that. And there are some people, although they see Olandra, they don't see her as necessarily ugly. They don't, they just, they may find, let's say, Clark more attractive. Because, of course, it initially started physical. And there are some people who have went as far as saying she's funny looking, or what they see as ugly, or even if she's not necessarily ugly, they think she's funny looking. And I've even tried to talk more in detail about that. What I think it is, I think a lot of times we think it's just colorism. We don't talk enough about featurism. And even in talking about featurism, we think it's just about a wide nose and thick lips. There are people with wider noses, much wider noses than Alondria, that some people may deem as more attractive. One thing that we don't really talk about, or two things, like with the protruding cheekbones on certain black women, like Taylor, which is also like an Afrocoid / Negroid. I know these are outdated terms, anthropological terms, but we don't talk about like protruding cheekbones, being that she doesn't have much facial fat. She has a small head, a small face. However, she has protruding cheekbones, prominent cheekbones, and think like kind of Dionne Warwick, even if hers isn't as, and she has a significant, unlike Teyana Taylor and Dionne Warwick, she has a significant amount of facial prognathism. That's why that's something that I don't think we address that enough in talking about featureism. We're just usually, thinking, oh, lips, nose. Yeah. That's what some people, whereas me, I appreciate such features. And I think that's what makes her even more so exotic looking. You know what I'm saying? But I do feel that there are some people, they got to come, it's gonna take a minute. That's why I think maybe if we talk about, and that's why I definitely. Why do you think? Okay, I talked about, even though nobody was with me yesterday. I guess we can't talk about African because we're supposed to all be on this FBA tip now. Not me, but there's a reason also why I talked about why I appreciate these films and these series that are coming out of Africa, the continent of Africa, like South Africa and Nigeria. For one, I love the optics. I love seeing the diversity. People who are relatable, still black, but quote unquote black, but diverse. I love seeing and they're not trying too hard to be diverse. It's more natural, like, it's more relatable. It's not like people are tokens necessarily. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like, these are South Africans that you see right here. These are all South Africans. Okay, these are Nigerians here. Now, these women, even though they're playing people of the Igbo and Yoruba, actually, these two sisters here are of the Edo State, Nigeria. Yeah, perhaps of the Idoma. Yeah, these two actresses here. I love, like, with the Blood and Water series out of South Africa and Blood Legacy. See, yeah, you see diversity, you see the diversity, yet it's still relatable to the majority of our people. Do you understand? Like I said, if I'm watching a film out of Nollywood, Nollywood, I don't expect for the majority of the people to be my complexion. Do you understand what I'm saying? But I'm not saying that I can't be seen or I shouldn't be seen. Nobody's saying that. But I'm being realistic. I do expect to see. I think that, what's just more realistic? If I'm seeing, if I expect something that's based around my culture, my ethnicity, and even my country, I expect for it to be a more and yeah, like, if I'm seeing a video, a hip hop video, hip hop culture deriving from what Tariq Nasheed want to call FBA, right? Then I expect to see the women who are going to be in that hip hop video. I expect the majority to look much like these two females here, even though they're South African, right? They would still be put in the quote unquote Negroid category. That's what I'd expect most of the females to look like. I'm not saying that you can't have, there wouldn't be, or they couldn't be like someone who is biracial. I'm not saying that. But I'm going to expect the majority of females to look something similar to like these females here. Phenotypically. I'm just talking, I'm not looking so much at the fashion and all of that. But that's what, I'm going to expect to see. This one on the left looks a lot like my oldest niece. She has some features similar to my oldest niece. Yeah. And that's why I promote his, I definitely, but anyways, yeah, you see, like with the Blood and Water cast, and these are the guys. Yeah, you got, and see, the Caucasian guy is more of the token. He's the token, even despite colonial powers and, colonialism in South Africa, still in watching this series, it's good to see a black majority, black people who look more relatable, and the Caucasian is the token. And these are the guys, and these are the female interests, these are the love interests. The optics are very, very important. These are the love interests. So if this is what, let's say, we were to continuously see, like for Wade, they got him a little girlfriend here. She's adorable. I love seeing the relationships that they had on the show, despite, then now, of course, I expressed to y'all what I didn't like seeing, and they're showing a variant of South African women, all black. You can see the little koi and this is Desmond Tutu's daughter. I want to see it in the hairstyles, the style, the fat, something I can relate to. But getting back on the whole thing here, Yeah, let me play something. Let me play something that also. Now I just found this now. I never. This is my first time hearing this from Taylor.
When I first covered up with her, she's pretty, have a good body, boom. But it's like I wasn't.
Okay, it says here. Someone shared. Taylor admits he wasn't attracted to Olandria. So basically, he's saying he wasn't physically attracted to her from the jump. But this is what he says.
Up with her, she's pretty, have a good body, boom. When I first covered up with her, she's pretty, have a good body, boom. But it's like I wasn't like physically attracted to her yet. But the more as like time went on, I'm like, damn, like I'm starting to grow that physical attraction to her. Like I started touching her more. I started doing all that more. So like I grew to be more physically attracted to her as time went on.
Do you feel like it was
Okay, now this is my first time hearing this in me putting together this live stream. This is my first time hearing this. I didn't hear him say this. Because from what I took from the interviews and this and that I did here and when he was on the show, it was like he was just basically saying that, yeah, I like you as a friend, but I'm just not at all physically attracted to you. Like as if he never was. And that's how, and so that had me like, wow, damn. Like, but, I can't exactly be proven that he was colorist. But of course, that's in the back of my mind. Of course, Now, why would it be in the back of my mind, though?
She's pretty, have a good body, boom. But it's like when I first covered up with her, she's pretty, have a good body, boom. But it's like I wasn't like physically attracted to her yet. But the more as like time went on, I'm like, damn, like I'm starting to grow that physical attraction to her. Like I started touching her more. I started doing all that more. So like I grew to be more physically attracted to her as time went on.
Do you feel like it was kind of like she felt like, man, like I wasted so much of my like? Because I think it's a time thing too, right? It's like he's growing to like me when I could be, talking to somebody that already likes me, type of thing. Like that. Maybe that's where some of the frustration came from.
Maybe, but it's like I never held her back from talking to anybody. Literally, like whenever we did the blindfold challenge to kiss somebody, those two, and she went over to kiss. Was it you, mother?
No, I kissed her.
Oh, anywho, or was it Ace?
She kissed Ace.
She kissed Ace, and she told me, I was like,
Nothing
cool.
ever more happened with that, but I was curious of that storyline. They didn't give it to me though.
And I was like, cool. Like I'm not, I'm not mad at you. Like it's day two. Like go do what you do. Da da da. When I first covered up with her.
Okay, but the thing is, all right, yeah, he's saying he didn't stop her from talking to someone else, but you knew that she was. I mean, how could you have not known that? And she said that even with she would give him this assurance when Jalen, the guy that came to be with her on the show, and he came to the show saying that he wanted to hook up with Olandria, and she thought he was cool, but she made it, clear. She was already invested. Her feelings were already invested in Taylor, right? And she said, like, even when she, snapped at him eventually, she told Taylor that, she was like assuring him every night that Jalen was there that she just wanted to be with Taylor. Like it's cool. And if you knew that she just wanted to be with you, that should tell you that she was, let's just say, in love with, we'll play along, that tell you that she was in love with you. And she didn't want to be with Ace or even Nick. She wanted to be with you. Right? So why didn't you just, okay, right then and there, you know what? I'm not feeling you. What he was thinking that, okay, I'm going to stay in this. I'm going to stay in this. I'm going to, now I had a situation myself, and I think that's wrong. I think that's where I feel he was wrong. It's not so much, if this is what you're attracted to, this is what you're attracted to. You can't force. I had a situation myself, and I've talked about it before. This is back in the 90s. Of course, long before my husband. But there was this guy. I've talked about it before. And he was tall, like I was attracted to. He was tall. He was a police officer. This was like around, it was around 1995. Yeah, he was a police officer. And he was a really good guy. He wanted to take care of me and everything. But I wasn't and had nothing. He happened to be dark skinned. Had nothing to do with no colorism, though. But I wasn't physically attracted. It had nothing to do with his complexion. I wasn't physically attracted to him, and I already wear glasses. He wears kind of thick glasses. But he was a cop. I wasn't physically, and well, but that I'm a woman. I don't really look at that hard. Okay. But first off, I wasn't exactly physically attracted to him. But that doesn't, I can overlook that. I'm not, like I said, Shorty won't think I'm crazy because I was attracted to KRS-One. Yes, I sure was. And I've expressed I used to be when I was a teenager. I've expressed that. Okay. Because I don't look at things like that hard. But I will say, I wasn't physically attracted to him. But, he was nice to me, wanted to talk to me and everything, this police officer. And his name was Nathan. And yeah, but I wasn't attracted. So I was hoping, being that he was such a nice guy, I was hoping I was like, I'm gonna still try to make this, happen because he's a really nice guy. He's a police officer. He happened to be adopted. He was adopted from the time he was born by a white family. So he's raised by a white family, and he was a police officer. He's a really nice guy, and he wanted to. And you guys, I was a person already with y'all. He wanted to take care of me, and he was really, really a gentleman. However, but I was hoping to grow. He was one. You could tell he was raised kind of in the suburbs. You could tell he had mostly white friends. Now I'm not saying that he said any raccoon stuff, but so I could not relate to him kind of, I'm from the hood. But he was from Wisconsin. Yeah, I could not relate to him, but he was a nice person, just really, really. And I remember he'd come over and he'd let me know, show him my, being my little child, my baby at the time. He's like, I'm putting my gun up here. He's really, really nice. But I wasn't, so I was hoping that, I could, just get to know and even though I had my own apartment and everything, I was, he wanted to really take care of me, and, get me out of the apartment. He just really wanted to, I will say he was raised, I'm not saying because he had white parents, but he was raised right in that he understood what is expected of a man. You understand? And he wanted to be with me, but I wasn't. So I was hoping I would become attracted, just in getting to know him and us, and I remember and he'd be, of course, can't talk too much. My husband knows. I talk about these things in YouTube for a reason. But the thing is, though, it was like being with a white guy. I'm not saying he said raccoon stuff, but. And especially the way that I was in the 90s, perhaps even a little more radical on certain things. And I'm gonna have conversations on race and things that's going on. Hell yeah, and that was around the time of the OJ, So whenever I had conversations on it was just like, I remember when I saw the movie Something New, with her being with a white man. It was just like, this is how I pictured being with a white man would be. That's how I was like, I could not be with a white man because I remember when I watched Something New, which came out in the early 2000s, I said, you see, this is why I couldn't. Ain't no way I could be with a white man. Because, when she was talking, Sanaa Lathan's character, whenever she was talking about what she was experiencing on the job, as not only being black, but a woman, but as a black woman, how they wouldn't be listening to her. And every time she talking about it, and she mentioned that black tax, the white guy be like, oh, do we have to talk about this? We have to. And it's not like I'm just walking around, just talking. I'm a person be walking around talking about race and stuff and racism all day long. No, but yeah, like with him, it was like seriously, like it was like really like with a white guy, like he just couldn't. And being that I liked him as a person, he was a really cool person and a nice person, but I couldn't fake the funk no more. I couldn't, and I didn't want us to, and I know how I am. I'm a person, we're going to eventually, and I don't want to get into an argument with him over, I don't want to get, end up where I end up like just snapping, look, this is racist. You don't see it. Like, How can you not see it? And I didn't want to say, hey, cynical one. So I had to let him. I had to cut it off, and I had guilt for that for years until like really hooking up with my husband. I had guilt for that for years. Because but see, the thing is, if we would have stayed together, like some people would say, well, you're going to let that be a reason, somebody that was willing to be a man, take care of you, this and that. That is a really, yeah, you could think that if you want, but I'm just like this. I'm not going to waste your time. I'm not going to, you know what I'm saying? And that's the thing. I would not want somebody I know that I would end up bumping heads with. We had absolutely no arguments. And we were talking for a minute, but and I don't want to end up bumping heads with him. But it was frustrating me, and then I just couldn't relate to him, And I was still very much part of the hip hop culture. I could not relate to him, and I know some people think, see, this is an example of Black women. See, they want the thugs, they want the, like I'm not trying to. He really was a nice guy, and I always used to say, I hope he finds out, even though more than likely he probably with a white woman. But I was like, I just don't care. I just want him to be happy. Of course, I want him to be with a beautiful sister of Yahuda. Of course. But probably wanted like, yeah. But and the thing is, what I'm saying is, if you just not attracted, not because I could have got over the physical thing, but being that being that I couldn't even connect with him on a cultural level. Yeah, that's the thing. I could not connect with him, even though he was Black American. I could not connect with him on a cultural level. And we were like, and when it came to the discussion, every time something racism, he would be like, no, it's not. It's like he didn't believe racism exists or something. Now, I can't say that I heard him say something that was straight up over the raccoon tip, but, that would have made it easier for me. But yeah, I did break off, and I had felt bad of, almost like I felt like any dude I gotta talk to or give a text. I felt so bad about that. For a while, but no, he was not. I'm glad I met my husband. I'm glad, what I'm saying? It's all good. Things happen for reasons, but at least I knew to cut it off. And what I'm saying is, if you're not attracted, you're not attracted. If and the thing is, from the jump, I wasn't. It was a thing of not only me not being physically attracted to Nathan, but I was willing to, and being that he was a nice person, and ain't a lot of nice people left. And he even though he was hurting and stuff, but yeah. So I'm just telling you that. But and sure, I would say to the next woman, yeah, give it a try. Because we gotta understand, we're not gonna be any person that you're with. Like my husband is the age difference. Any person you're with, nothing is going to be 100%. But you gotta understand, I was also younger then. Now the older me probably would have, let's say if that same scenario happened and I hadn't met my husband and I met Nathan in my older years, yeah, it probably would have been different. I probably would have been, but I was also younger at that time, and these people are young. So I'm saying, yeah, I don't think that we should at all, if you don't, because there are some people, they may definitely recognize that Black is beautiful and this and that, but there may be a certain Afrocoid aesthetic that they're more attracted to. Maybe they don't want, maybe they want a face that's more like Shelly, or what they may think are softer. Maybe they want a wider nose. You know what I'm saying? Maybe they want a nose that's, or what they see as softer features. It doesn't mean that they don't like Afrocoid features. Maybe these are the maybe he preferred a nose like this, versus Alondria's smaller nose. You know what I'm saying? You never know. You never know. But of course, we're going to assume what we assume because we're not stupid, and we do know our people, and And I guess maybe considering that he's from the South, and so yeah, the first thing that jumps in our mind is colorism. Like, is it about her being a lighter complexion, and maybe and I'm still, could it have? It may not have been colorism. Could it have been featureism? Maybe he is not, because I think there's some black people, them talking about her being odd looking. Olandra, she's kind of funny looking, but whether there are black people, they may not realize this, but I do think that there still are people, even though they think that they accept black features, I do think that they don't even realize why it is that they are not attracted to Olandria's profile or Olandria's face. They may not realize that racism may just play, racial brainwashing may just play a part in that, of why they, like in the case of Olandria. Hold on, let's see if I can find a picture of her profile. Because like, that's the thing. I'm the type, I'm gonna ask you, why do you think her face? If her face looks funny, why do you think? Because I'm a very curious person. I like knowing what people thinking. Like, why is it that y'all think her face is funny looking? They're saying she looked like the Grinch. Well, what is it about her that makes her, like, when she smiles, she looked like the Grinch? Okay, if that's the case, what is it about her? Why she look like the Grinch when she's smiling to you? Think about it. With the Grinch, like with a lot of cartoon characters. See, it's about the facial prognatism. And they may not even realize it. That's what I was talking about. Like, why is it that there are people who see Whoopi Goldberg as unattractive? And if you don't, you don't. Like, it was a brother who, like I told y'all, he came in one of my videos that I did years ago, video that got a lot of views. Yeah. I believe it was the Defending the Hair Hats video that I did years ago, if you can remember. And then when I talked about how you got a lot of black women are some of the only women who could, many of them, not myself, because of the shape of my head, but they can shave their hair bald and still look very feminine and beautiful. Whereas a lot of women, they straight up lean on their hair. They can't rock it like that. Wait, hold on. I thought y'all seeing what I'm sharing. Yeah, showing Olandra's profile. They can't rock it like that. So brother had, so I showed a compilation of black women with their hair very short to bald. Now that's not really my preferred look, and it sure don't work on me, but there are females that can make it work. And yeah, that's a lot of black. Majority of these females happen to be black. It's about the shape of our heads and everything, and our skulls and forehead, and and all of that. Yeah, and there are females I've shown, they could be bald and hair really, really short, like Lupita Nyong'o, and still look soft and feminine. But it was a brother, I remember, he came in that video was some years ago, and he said, I love black women, I love black features and all that, but he said, I'm sorry, but that's just my preference. I don't really like hair, really, really, really short like that on a woman. And I was like, and I do think with the women of Yasharel, I remember, believe it or not, Thoughts Camera Action, before he straight jumped shark and jumped ship. I remember he had a video showing that, like scriptures, backing it up with scriptures that Yasharel, we are not supposed to be, like the women should not be cutting their hair super short, like really, or like really bald. Like, what I'm saying that's more of a Hamitic thing. Just like with shaving your face, a man a man of Yasharel isn't supposed to be shaving his face like totally bald as a grown man. Like, that is the customs of some Hamitic people, as well as like in Africa, and some and also like the Romans and Grecians and stuff. But to distinguish Yasharel, they're supposed to keep some facial hair and all of that. And the women are not supposed to be cutting their hair, or they shouldn't be cutting their hair really like bald, like to the point like shaven. That was more of what a lot of the Hamitic people did, like of ancient Egypt. Okay. Yeah. But anyways, yeah. So I can understand him saying that and I myself, prefer more longer hair. Definitely on myself. And but that's the thing. I love a lot of those short, crop, layered hairstyles. Just don't fit my head. But overall, in general, yeah, it's also about what fits me. But I am kind of envious of those females who can rock them really cute short haircuts that I love. But yeah, when he said that, like, this is just his preference. And I said, I totally feel you. There are, men who there's some men don't care, but there are men. It's not saying that they want women to have straighter hair. It's just a lot of times when we think longer hair or hair that hangs, we think straighter hair. We don't think hair that has shrinkage or is tightly coiled, because our hair tend to grow bigger, not necessarily longer. So a lot of times, yeah. And then there's some people who think our hair can't grow. So a lot of times they think if a brother say he prefer longer hair, that means he wants a white woman or a non-black woman, and that's not necessarily true, because we know that that's you assuming that black women's hair cannot grow. We know when you look at a person with locks and natural locks, and so that totally debunks that. Okay, even though these are two hair pieces that she got on, but this is just giving you an idea that totally is untrue. Okay, we can't. How you doing? Warriors are the best. Yeah. So, and then some people could say, well, still, it's still Western world brainwashing you wanting, because you've been brainwashed to believe that associate femininity with long hair. Or hair that hangs, or that, goes past the shoulders or whatever, and that's Western world brainwashing. No, that is not just Western world. We got to stop thinking that all Africoid people of the African continent, which I would include the Middle East, we have to stop thinking that they all follow the same custom. Not all of the women of the African continent, like I said, you have Hamitic and Shemitic people in the African continent. Not everyone was into the custom, like what you see, like, for instance, like women in Kenya, cutting their hair really, really short, like Lupita Nyong'o, whereas the men are allowed, it's kind of custom to let the men grow their hair longer. Not for if we think that that's not every demographic or tribe or group or nationality or whatever in Africa, and they do not follow the same custom or style. You understand? So it's not just Western world brainwashing to assume that. However, I do think that we should. What you say? You don't have no patience? Wait, hold on. What you saying? Warriors are the best. What you saying? I don't know if you know this or not, but I have no patience for that. Even if you're black, I don't tolerate no racism. Don't exist, people. Yeah, I ain't saying that he exactly said that. The guy Nathan, I'm not saying he exactly. It's just that's how it kind of, whenever there was, you gotta understand, there were things going on, even in 1995, i.e., O.J. Simpson, and it was like it was always being played down. It was always being, and I knew I was growing a frustration, so I knew eventually it's like, let me end it, because I don't want to argue with it. I don't want any reason to have, because he's too cool a guy, and I don't know if I can. I think that'll be irking at me. But I do believe that perhaps if I was physically attracted to him, I probably would have been like, oh, we can try to work around this. We can try to make it work. Maybe I'll just ignore it. But I wasn't physically attracted to him. You understand as well. Yeah, so the thing is, from the jump, I wasn't physically attracted, but I was hoping, okay, he's really a nice guy. Let me get to know him, and hoping that I would grow attracted to him, beyond the physical. And being that we didn't connect in that sense culturally, do you understand? He's a brother. He's always going to be my brother, but on that tip, it was mainly on that tip. Now, yeah, he had an accent, like he'd been in the burbs, and I had a short period in my life lived in the burbs, but Yeah, and I'm not saying that you know, woman, yeah, because we gotta understand now. When you go as far as marrying somebody, you need to learn how to make it work. But that's why we need to use discernment and not just jump with anyone. But it's so hard to say because I've also talked about how, like, when it come to marriage and stuff, like when we look in ancient times, it wasn't who said it was like, oh, what's love got to do with it? Yeah, it's great to be in love with somebody, but believe it or not, in ancient times, like when you had these arranged marriages, and even, yeah, like in the case of Isaac, it wasn't a thing of, oh, he's gonna go find somebody to fall in love with. No, he was sent to like family or whatever. He was sent to, they had the wife prepared for him, Rebecca. So yeah, this idea, and a lot of times people, like in the custom for years, you know, it was about, yeah, what was convenient and better for the generate, you know, for the family. Like with arranged marriages, what would be better for the children? What's love got to do with it? You better eventually learn to fall in love and put your differences aside and get to know each other. Yeah. It's funny, we have these discussions on hypergamy. You guys understand people talk about like Nick and Olandria, you know, like, no, that's, there are people who have been together for years. Not only they all Google Gaga for each other, but it's convenient. Long as they ain't fighting with each other, long as. But however, I'm not going to promote Nicolandria because we are supposed to, you know, I know that Yasharel is supposed to be with Yasharel. Ain't got nothing personally against Nick now. But anyways, like what I was saying on you know, if you're just not attractive, you're just not attractive. I do think that we need to look into why. Okay, why is it that you're not attractive? Let's break it down. What is it that's turning you off? Now he ain't, yo, he's moved on. He ain't gotta any further explain that. He ain't got, now notice though, he did say when he saw his pretty, she had a nice body, but he wasn't attracted. So he didn't say he saw his ugly. He didn't say, you know, so, but I am curious, like, you know, because we're automatically assuming colorism, and maybe you're right. Or maybe it's featureism. You know, it might be, I think it may, you know. And then there's some people who say these very same features Alondria have on her face, if it was on a whiter, lighter skinned woman, he probably would have overlooked that and would have accepted. Maybe so, maybe so. But, you know, we just can't assume. But I do understand why people still would question. But I do think that we do need to look at, okay, like, okay, I share with you guys. Let me go to it, see if it's in my history. I'd have to go to my other channel. But remember, let me see, I know I got it in my history. Excuse me, guys. Gotta burp a little. Let me see. I'm trying to find it in my history. I got the video on private, but from the Bad Time to Be a Black Woman series, I share with y'all. Now you remember with the whole thing, but I think that a lot of this stuff. Move this over here. A lot of this stuff, it's almost like now I had shared this where I think this is what got me wanting to talk about this. Yeah. Remember I said I just feel like there's certain things, nothing goes viral coincidentally, and I just feel like there's certain things like almost like meant to trigger us. I do still feel to a degree this show was intended to be like some sort of psyops, even if it wasn't exactly scripted. I feel the whole thing with them getting Nick and Olandria to come back to the island, almost like they, oh gosh. But you never know. This whole world is you never know. But yeah, from my Bad Time to Be a Black Woman series, I shared this. Yeah, I noticed that these things that make headlines and go viral, shared by World Star and stuff, and I'm really surprised Method Man of Wu-Tang Clan, who influenced by the 5%ers. I'm shocked to hear him disrespecting natural hairstyles, not just one, but he's saying he didn't like afros or locks. Those are the two like prominent choices for natural hairstyles, right? On black women. But he did them both, even though this is a person who I'm assuming was influenced by the 5%ers. Nations of God, I'm not with that. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying. So I kind of question, like, I just wonder, are people, these celebrities, some of them being paid to say certain things just to trigger black women or to trigger this whole gender warring? Because it was just a lot of this stuff in the 2000s, especially like after 2008. A lot, every time you look up, there was something making a headline. Okay, Trick Daddy said this. Slim Slug said this about black women. Oh, white women is better, and it's better to choose a white woman. And they just say these little things out of blue. Gilbert Arenas said this. Colorist remark on Lupita Nyong'o. Every time you look up, it's just something almost like this stuff is like as if they're being told to say certain things to trigger. And then some people, some people would correct me. This is just what a lot of black men think. Stop making excuses. I know that this is what some would, think, but I don't know. I just, for them to now all of a sudden just when out of the blue just be voicing these things. What's this about? I still kind of question. But anyways.
You know what I'm saying?
Do you like natural hair?
No.
What did you say?
No.
Okay.
If you're
An apology.
I'm kind of racist, like not even like that.
I did hear that.
Like
you owe her an apology.
You don't like dark. You don't dark butts. You know what I'm saying? Like it's rare that I do dark butts. Like really
dark
rare.
butts.
Yeah, that's what I call it. It's like no darker
Black
than me.
booties are no good.
No, I love the pool test. Like you gotta like if you can be like, yo, baby, I met you in a club. Let's go back to my house. Jump in the pool exactly like you are, and you don't come out looking better wet than you were before you got in the pool. Then that's not a good look,
Are you talking about people's hair?
Yeah,
is that what you're
eyelashes coming off? You know what I'm saying? Any girl that use brown gel to lay down her baby hair is not popping.
Now people say no. He's just saying if you are not natural, if you're wearing lashes, if you're wearing No. You got women, and he started off saying, I'm kind of racist. He said it, even though he followed up saying, oh, my mother's, when he, got a little backlash, he followed up Young Berg saying, my mother's dark skin. I love, okay. Well, why would you even say that? Like, that's why I was like, what is the point of even, and then these things, these comments that go viral. I wasn't never checking for no Young Berg. But being that this went, and it usually went viral through like World Star or something, media fake out, almost like they're being told to say this. Okay, you say this and we're going to give you a reality show. Spark a little controversy saying, say this. Doggone well, why would you even start off saying I'm a little bit of a racist? What was the point of even saying that? And he wasn't just talking about females who got a whole bunch of accessories or like lashes and fake nails and this and that, because that's not a racial thing. Because we know in the United States, like I go to the gym, these Latina females be having lashes and all this stuff on at the gym I go to. Just like I got my daughter put on me. There are sometimes I have a full face of makeup. They definitely have the nails, the lashes. Okay. So it's not about that. And that's why he made it. If you need brown baby gel to lay down your edges, so basically, that would be black women and mixed with black women. So yeah. See, when they were talking exoticals, they weren't just talking.
Any girl that use brown.
He ain't talking about he got a preference for Clark. He may pick Clark over Alondra, but when they were talking exoticals, they talk, these brothers like Young Berg talking exotic or exotical. They are talking Darlene Ortiz. Okay? Not some of y'all up in here. Not Clark, not,
On jail to lay down her baby hair is not You know what I'm saying?
Do you like natural hair?
Yeah, so he's making it known. It's about he think it's more popping if you can get out of the pool wet and your hair doesn't shrink up, basically.
What did you say?
No.
You don't. Do you like natural hair?
No.
What did you say?
No.
You don't like natural
I
hair?
don't like peasy afros, sorry.
Why?
It just looks peasy. I don't like dreads either.
No, peasy, that pretty much means like unkept looking. Let me give you more. Peasy. Yeah, like as if you peasy, informal slang term used to describe something that is very simple, effortless, or requires no skill to complete. Like basically peasy, like you didn't put any effort into trying to do your hair. Like basically, like he sees an afro as showing you as being lazy or peasant or like it sounds, But would he say the same? Would he say the same? Let's say a white girl just with her hair just laying there, not necessarily put up in a style or anything like that, but just falling flat on her shoulders. A white female, would he say the same thing versus a female who just decides a more effortless afro? And then he also says locks. He don't like. So why choose the styles that are easier, what he sees as easier or peasier, on black women, or what he sees as peasy?
You don't like dreads? Why?
No.
You don't like natural
I
hair?
don't like peasy afros, sorry.
Why?
It just looks peasy. I don't like dreads either.
You don't like dreads?
They should have said dreads, not just locks, but dreads. Now he, being influenced by the 5%ers, you don't think he know better than he use those terms now? Well, this was in 2000. But even then, with the dreads, I know that's what we used to say, but we understand now that dreads, the term dreadlocks, that was the Europeans, white people, making mockery of our hair, referring to it as dreadful, these locks. But see, that young Berg, but this is Method Man. Method Man's older than me. And this is a man who was influenced by the 5%ers. Who's like, which is like this kind of subset of the Nation of Islam. So you think, that's why I can't help but wonder, like where the hell does this even come from? You're going to get backlash. What you're saying is going to, that's why I couldn't help but wonder, like, is this stuff set up for to go viral in worldstarhiphop.com? I would think by 2010, he would know better than to say something like that.
Do you like natural hair?
No.
What did you say?
No.
You don't like natural
I
hair?
don't like peasy afros, sorry.
Why?
It just looks peasy. I don't like dreads either.
You don't like dreads? So what do you like?
I like a woman to get her hair did. I don't like
And that's the thing too. What made her ask that question? That's why I can't help but wonder some of this stuff. But let's just play along. This is what he really feels. He said it. So
I have dreads and I don't like it. I have the afro.
That's why I wore my afro today, because I knew you didn't like it. And I just wanted to see. I rock rough and stuff with my
afro puff ring.
I put here, now what if she had a heavy crush on him? What if this one female had a crush on him?
He don't like it.
Well, they're all the girls.
See, I rock rough and stuff with my
afro puff rage.
He don't like it.
Well, they're all the girls. And if you count, you only see 3 black girls in the lineup. Now, let me just say this. But as a black woman, when I watched the sneak peek of your show, now I saw it before you guys did because I got actually a DVD. I watched it over the weekend and I was gagging. The majority of them were white or from Hispanic descent. Very few were black. They picked the first 14 girls. They were all white or Hispanic. The last 3, except for one girl was in there that was black. The last 3 girls, and you kind of clumped them together. It almost looked like a throwaway.
You know what? This is a funny issue for people to even question what I like. You know, but based off of what you see, there's nothing I can do about that. For one, I have a preference, right?
Mm-hmm.
Everybody has a preference. I love everybody. You know, before this show came out, if you supported me, I would hope you continue to support me, not based off of who I picked.
Yeah.
I don't care if I had a bunch of Skittles lined up there. I want you to support me in what I'm doing, period. You know, I have a preference. If I like Hispanic, if I like white, if I like black, it don't matter. I'm the one. I'm here to entertain y'all, but I'm gonna appease me in what I like.
So he was talking about his preference, and you know, he got a preference. And when they showed the women, you saw the women look. Okay, this was his preference. All right. So a bunch of Kardashians and some blondes here and there. Okay, so his preference, you don't even really see even like any like biracial looking women. Okay. Yeah, so his preference. All right, but even so, yeah, and he has a right. He didn't say, unlike you know, young Berg, he didn't really say anything, I guess, that could be taken as all that offensive, right? He just, and he has a right to his, he's right, he has a right to his preference. Although for him to expect for women to still support him, now, yo, if there are people who just support him as an entertainer, okay, whatever. But you know, just as he has a right to his preference, women have a right. Black women have a right to not support those who they feel would not be as supportive of them. Okay, yeah. Oh, this was Chad Ochocinco, and I did this video. Now, part one of this video got like over 15,000 views. Like, you know, it was years ago, and then we were all talking about, yeah, this had I did this in 2011. The bad time, part of the bad time to be a black woman series, and this is where, understand, this is where persons like myself, this is when we start referencing the preferences. It wasn't necessarily meant to put down these women who are their preference. Okay, we just took that term, and you know, and later people like Chrissy and stuff and took that term just like it was almost kind of, yeah, it was, if there was mockery, it was mocking guys like this, but it wasn't necessarily to mock necessarily the females. But it like even using the term exotic, you just got some people up in here now, they're taking it, run with it, they're thinking that they can make trying to make lemonade out of lemon, whatever they're trying to do. That's their way of coping. Well, I'm going to call myself an exotical, I'm going to, you know, call myself the preference or whatever. Yeah, yeah, I mean, whatever. The bottom line is he ain't really into black women. He may want some black in that woman, like when it comes to her shape, or yeah, that's the thing. They want some of that DNA, or at least it to appear as if, even if they have obtained what appears to be the DNA through surgery, it's like they want these racially ambiguous Caucasian women. They want these Caucasian exoticals, or they want these Asian exoticals, and you know, they want a woman, a Chinese woman who look like she may have a little Africoid in her. They ain't get, you know, ain't even so much the straight up Ming Lees, even though they'll still, guys like him, that is, they'll take the Ming Lee still over Tanisha. But they prefer if Ming Ling looked like she got a little Keisha, just a little bit though. Like, you know, like maybe there's a 10% in the DNA or something like that. Do you understand what I'm saying? Like what would be probably an MGM Caucasian or whatever. I'm learning these terms here, these social media terms. Yeah, that's what they would prefer. But yeah, because I noticed they're not just, you know, like for instance with the Asian woman, they really like if she's look like she's perhaps Filipina instead of just Japanese or Chinese, because as we know, or like, you know, I've shown y'all how the indigenous Filipinos look more like the what is referred to as negritos. They were anthropologically speaking, quote unquote, black, put in the Negro category, even if not African. So that's why you do have those Filipinas who made, some of them who made, because they're like a lot of Latinas. They're, we know the people of the Philippines, Spanish colonizers. That's why many of them have Spanish names. So they're basically, if you were to take, like predominantly Caucasian, Mongoloid, and Negroid and mix it together. Like even with certain, like with a lot of Latinos. That's why there are some Latinos who can pass for Filipino and vice versa. Darlene Ortiz definitely being an example. That is what is like the exotic to the black man. Whereas the exotic to the white man, that is the exotic fetish of the black man. But the exotic fetish of the white man would be more of the Olandria. The Grace Jones, the like we could say it's a fetish, like with the Chad or the Young Birds and the Chad Ochocinco's, just as they're saying it's a fetish. Some think it's about a certain fetish here. This is what they see. The Naomi Campbells, the exotic to them. That's why they were referred to. They put those models, Iman and stuff, in the category of exotic. And again, I don't believe Naomi Campbell got a whole Chinese grandmama. First said on the daddy side. Now I want to say on the mama side. Trust me, some of these people are lying. There may be some way down the line. Some of these people are lying, just like she's been wearing colored contacts for some years. Okay? But yeah, this is more so the cheekbones and all. The cheekbones, the prognatism, this is the exotic to them. Exotic just means foreign, intriguingly unusual. Unusual to the norm that you're used to seeing or whatever, but yet intriguing. And when white people think exotic, they're thinking more so Africa, Asia. They're thinking jungle. For some reason, they affiliated with jungle, like of South America, like Brazil. That's what they're saying is exotic. Africa. That's why they call exotic cats. They call, lions and tigers and panthers exotic cats. Or when they're talking about an exotic plant, it may be some flower that was grown in Brazil or something. That's what they're usually thinking when they're thinking exotic. But yeah, what I'm saying is, okay, so Chad Ochocinco, he spoke on, he has right to his preference. Yes, he does. Like I said, I had a preference for, even though my husband isn't really tall, but not saying he's short, but I used to just think Prince was the only short I may have been attracted to, and that was about him being a musician and just an awesome musician and all. But I could not be with a really, I used to like guys really, really tall. But when I really looked into it, what that might be about, yeah, I think, also me being short in a family of people who, like, I got a lot of these taller brothers, and I'm like the shortest in my family, although I have some people in my family that are pretty tall. And of course it's also about me being a woman, a more traditional woman, like the idea of what I kind of perceive as being a protector. Not saying that a man who is, below certain feet, like they couldn't protect. I'm just saying, but also I realize it may have had something to do with also insecurities I have as being a very short person. You understand what I'm saying? And wanting something kind of different from, myself, opposed, opposite of myself. It may have been about my own short insecurities. And when we're talking about race, but see, that's a whole totally different thing. Oh, I want someone with tall versus short. That's a whole different. When we're talking race, that might be something that's even that's something that's a little deeper. When we're talking about a preference that is in relation to race. Now, Chad Ochocinco, he showed his preference. That's how he just summed it up as being his preference, where it's obvious that he has a preference for white. Most of those women, and he said preference, and we were supposed to just overlook because he used a nice word like preference. But yeah, those women also like, so he's saying he preferred white women. That's what he was preferring, or more Caucasian leaning women who may have a hint of, they look ethnic, but not too ethnic. So he likes more white Caucasian leaning women, where he would allow for some blondes even. But usually these women had, darker hair. Yeah, so he's letting it be known. He has a preference for more Caucasian women leaning women, or with, brunette Caucasian leaning women. That's his preference. And when your preference, as I said, is what is closest to what reflects your oppressor, that is definitely questionable. When you are a black person, and I'm not saying that these women have oppressed him, but I'm talking about, the oppressor of his people, because we have to understand we are under the system. I could talk about racism on an individual tip, but we are under the system we're still under the system of white racism that may have been initially established centuries ago, but we are still definitely, as we see with this whole thing with Carmelo Anthony. And when you got to understand, when your preference leans closer to that of your oppressor, I think you need to kind of do a little self-reflection and, really, kind of give that some consideration. It is not the same as even, I prefer tall versus short. And even in that case with myself, perhaps I realized, now I got over that. I'm not saying my husband's short, but he's not as tall as I used to be with. Because I used to want to be really tall. But even in that case, what is it that may have triggered that preference? Was it just about me having this idea of strong men being taller? Because there's a lot of women, but it was a serious thing with me. Or could it also have something to do with, or could it have something to do with my own also insecurities about being short? That's the thing. Really look into what is it that's behind, especially when we're talking about features and that has to, and I'm just talking physically here. But even if we were to talk, not just, even when we're talking personality, we need to question, could we have been brainwashed to some degree by Western world standards on how a woman should be and how a man should be and how they should act and how they should, take care of family and how they should lead or not lead. You understand? I mean, we do need to give that all consideration, but I'm just talking aesthetically here. Because for us to think that this is all just, like Azure TV brought up beauty politics, like there is a reason why there are black men who don't feel it is important for us to, give any focus really or much focus to how black women are in music videos, for instance, or what is shown as the love interest of black men in music videos and in film. And a lot of times when black women were addressing colorism, like in social media, it was not about us targeting certain individuals. We were addressing more about what we're seeing in media, even if that isn't an exact reflection of what's going on in the real world. We still understand the power of the medium. Think sorcery, witchcraft. They don't call it radio and TV programming for a reason. They don't call it channels, TV channels, channeling for nothing. I mean, for no reason. I mean, that's not a coincidence. That's not just, they know what it is. Television, entertainment enter your body, get a hold of, and you're in a state of this entertainment. Amusement. When you look at what muse, they know exactly, they totally understand the power of the media. And we got to watch out because, like I said, Tyra Banks preparing to sue Netflix. Yeah, they're going to be coming at her. They're going to be trying to link her with Epstein, everything they can. Look out for that. I also heard that my husband told me Bobby Brown's finally got his master's. I was like, oh boy. I hope Bobby Brown is okay. Because that's what I thought with Prince. But anyways, yeah, they understand. See, like they weren't gonna have Bill Cosby purchasing NBC or Michael Jackson getting 50% ownership control of Sony Music. Are you crazy? They can't have that. Because there are those powers that be that understand that if you can control the media, you can control the world. They understood that, along with the banks. The media and the banks. You can control the world. I remember learning that, well, this is what I learned in college, that the majority of, with the business, but they said, okay, what was it? The most money is spent in advertisement. I was like, really? I would have thought that more money was put into, whole products and raw products and raw materials and all of that, in the cost. But no, actually, marketing. Why? Because they understand, because marketing is very powerful and the media is very powerful. And this is what is being marketed right now. Y'all think it does not matter? Y'all think that this ain't doing something right now? Y'all think that this is just girl talk, beauty talk, and you think it doesn't have an effect on you? And why is it that females? Yes, he did. Okay, sisters, we were just addressing the music videos. Now, I'm not going as far because I know some people, they feel that when it's extreme. I'm not saying, like for instance, a sister look like Clark, or even myself, even though I don't see myself. But like we absolutely should not be seen. No, we are a part of the Black community. We are Black people. Okay. Clark is a Black woman just as, was considered just as Olandria is a Black woman. Okay. Neither one is biracial. Now, we don't know really the admixture, the background. You'd be surprised. Remember what I showed y'all? Wanda Sykes versus, remember what I showed y'all? The DNA results. So y'all don't really know either one of these women's DNA background. But I do know that they're both Black women. I believe with 2 Black parents. And I see Black features on both of them. Nose, lips, eyes, shape of the head, all of that. Both are wearing, like extensions or wig. But I see 2 Black women here. This is a Black woman here, Clark. Okay? So nobody is saying that she should be excluded. All that sisters have been saying is that if we are to see a film, a movie, a commercial, if we are to see a music video and Black people or Black culture is being represented in the music or whatever, then we should see the majority of women shown in this video, as well as men. They should be looking. This is, even though this is a South African, this is more of what we should be seeing. That's why I love the optics of what I'm seeing with these Africoid films. This is more of what I should be seeing. People who look naturally, even if they may be wearing wigs and stuff here, but people who look more like what we can relate to. That's just realistic. That's how it should be. And if y'all think it shouldn't matter, you got to understand, like, okay, people saying, well, we should, I know Azure TV said that we do need to talk about colorism, how it affects us, like when it comes to discrimination, where, because there's some people saying we should not care about, like they think it's just girl vain talk when we're just like only time we want to talk about colorism. And I can understand why some people may feel that, especially if they're of the opposite sex. They feel that we only talk about colorism when it comes to beauty politics and all of that. But you have to understand, okay, it is, we should be talking about colorism more, like if it, like with discrimination, like if it affects your career, if it, if you can't get into that college, or if it's, we should, but yeah, we should also talk about, I think it's just it's important to talk about how we choose to have our music videos and all that, the people casted for these, like James M. Toomey, rest in peace, behind the song Juicy Fruit. He said in the unsung that they wanted him with his music video to replace, like put white women in the club where he was like performing for the music video in the lounge or whatever, to replace like some black people, like black women with white folks. And he was like, no, why should I have to do that? They don't have to do that, like with a heavy metal video or, a rock video. Why do we got to do that? Why must we do that? And see, I do think that, and I can say with a lot of these actors, I noticed these Nigerian and even South African actors, if you look into the background of a lot of them, you'll find out that the ones who are married, most of them are married to people who look similar to themselves. Like, hold on. Let me see. Even though, we know that there's still colorism. We know that there's still colorism. In the African continent. We know that the skin bleaching and all of that. Hold on, let me find the cast. Yeah, I noticed that when, because I'm the type, I want to learn about the actors and everything. And I noticed when I looked in their backgrounds, many of them are married to people. Yeah, of course, if they're rich, it's expected that they might be married to people they see as more attractive than the average person, because they got the money and, they got the means to what they may see as level up, even though I don't like referring to anyone as being a level down. But let me see. I'm trying to find this one. Let me see. Where's the, just to show you what I'm talking about. Okay, actor. For instance, this being an example right here. This brother here. Oh shoot. He was in the Blood Sisters. Very handsome man, right? And he's making money now, so I guess you would expect for him. Give me a second. Yeah, he was in the very handsome actor in the his name's Maurice Sam. Very handsome Nigerian actor. He's been in quite a few movies. The actor's name is Maurice Sam. Yeah, he is right here. He's indeed a very handsome brother who he's been in quite a few of these Nigerian films that you can find like on Netflix. Very handsome brother indeed. And like when I looked into with a lot of these actors, I know, yeah, but I believe that these are the women he's, well, let me see, been with in real life. And I believe that this is his current woman. Yeah, this is he's getting the congratulations here. And I see this with quite a few of the actors. Not all, but most of them. They with people, yeah, they're beautiful, but they kind of more of a reflection of themselves. I'm not saying I expect them to look exactly like them. They may be a little lighter, a little darker, but I'm just saying that there are people like that represent their culture, ethnicity, their race, their heritage, their lineage. And still beautiful. Okay. And yeah, even though you'll have people like Tariq Nasheed and stuff, and people pointing out how they bleach their skin, and yeah, they got issues. Yeah, they have those issues, and that's because who is putting up the billboards in these countries promoting that they should bleach their skin and all that stuff? And some people think, well, they're just with this person because that's all they could be. And I'm not saying there ain't those who ain't brainwashed, or haven't been or couldn't be. And it's not that, but trust me, even in Nigeria, if this guy wanted to be with a white woman, he'd get with her. Or if he want, you know what I'm saying? And he could. And I'm not saying who knows what may happen. I'm not saying it. I'm saying I do think that, you can have Tariq Nasheed talking about taunting Africans or other people bleaching the skin and all that stuff. But I will say what I see even with the South African, for the most, they are still. I definitely would think someone like Tariq Nasheed, especially after the way he was acting in Brazil with them women. And I'm not saying that this guy could not or absolutely would not be attracted to someone outside his race or whatever. And stuff happens. I'm just saying, I think that if this is how, and that's the thing too, if I will see these Nollywood films, and if I think I see like Nollywood or whatever, if I think I see too much skin bleaching and stuff, I'm not watching it. If I could tell. Now I can tell. I was fooled, but I could kind of tell now, especially after that Exoticals experience. I'm not attracted to it. Yeah, they may wear the wigs and stuff still, but like that's the thing. Like I was talking about, if y'all listen to that, know a lot of people weren't really listening, but like me talking about, that's the one problem I got with the Nollywood. I'm not really for the wigs that they. I'm not tripping over wigs, but at least they could be better looking. I think the South African, like where they had their hair, I think it's a little better. Even if they're wearing straighter hair, it looks better. And see, they allow for, like with the South African. I like what I'm seeing, with the style and everything, and yeah, like what I'm liking what I'm seeing more so, and not just showing people with straight-haired wigs, lace fronts, or their hair straightened. I like seeing the diversity. I'm not so much tripping. Yeah, but I'd still rather see this, even if there's a straight-haired wig. I'd still rather see this. You know what I'm saying? Oh yeah. Well, Sammy Sosa, that was obvious, but I ain't gonna lie. There's some people, I'm telling you, some people in YouTube fool the hell out of, yeah. They up in YouTube right now doing videos showing. I'm thinking that they really were, yeah. And people, it's being exposed that this was the before. But let me not say it because then it might go to their head. And, oh, I got to keep doing this. But I think this also with the lighting, and I don't know. Yeah, I'm telling you. Like, it's this one little one that be speaking on the exoticals, and some had got me to go to her earlier video, and I'm like, wait a minute. She was a totally different. I'm like, oh wow, I really thought that this was old girl complexion, and she's cute. And that's the thing, she could be rocking it, and it's like I could see where her skin looking messed up. Her skin is looking unhealthy though now. But I was convinced that that was her complexion, where she was looking cute with the darker skin. She was just chubby. She's one of these that's what's it, the exotic. What's her name? The little exotical one, doing videos all the time and shorts. Yeah, I know the one because I had to show. I was like, "This is what you responsible for this EU. I'm blaming you. She looks hella young. I'm blaming you for this. You created this mess." And I'm like, I would shoot. She could just, yeah, she a little chubby. If it's about losing weight with them, she could just get in shape. Take out the silly wigs. Be having these tacky wigs. Oh goodness gracious, exoticals. Oh goodness, and her makeup is not good. I'm not trying to throw shit. I'm just saying, like, and she could be hella because she's cute. Be hella cute. It be rocking it. That's the thing. I like the idea. Just like with me, my wide nose. I like the idea of being cute, although although society says you ain't supposed to be seen as cute. You tell me I'm putting, like when I thought it was being told to me that I'm too close in the camera. Like, what you trying to say? This is what I'm doing. Like, I'm the type, I'm gonna put my face in the camera even more. You're gonna really look at this wide nose. Well, that's me being rebellious. Though. That's being prideful and rebellious. I'm just saying, that's the thing. A lot of times, we got to get used to it. Like I say, get used to it. Yes, got big lips, wide mouth, wide nose, nappy hair. Get used to it. And that's the thing. And I'm not just saying that jokingly. We got to get used to it. If you're not used to this being promoted, if you're not used to seeing this as the love interest, if you're not used to seeing this as the love interest, no, my daughter would say, I thought she was insinuating. She was like, what y'all old? It was some pictures I shared. I talked about it recently. And she was saying, y'all older people, y'all always take it, we all close up on your face. It's just she's like, you shouldn't share that picture or something. I'm like, why? I was actually sharing it for, it was eye makeup. It was a picture I did that I put on my community tab not that long ago on this channel. This was like a year or so ago. Yeah, that's what, and that's when the exoticals decided to come for me. I was like, why shouldn't I share this picture? I was trying to show the eye makeup because I was really trying to do something similar to Janet Jackson in the All For You video. And yeah, she would say that, like saying I guess the angle of me being too close up, it's kind of making things look, and she's like in her hands. I was like, what you trying to say? Like is it making my nose look too wide? So in an act of rebellion, so I did some just some funny pictures. And I left a message on my community tab and stuff. And then so somebody got the attention of the exoticals. That's when they thought she'd come at me and she realized I'm the wrong one. Yeah. But that's the thing. The point I'm making, people got to get used to. If you're not used, if like let's say you're not used to a girl that looks like this, as cute as she is. If you're not used to a girl look like this being shown as the girlfriend or the love interest or the one to be crushing on in movies, if you're used to seeing like just a Lauren London type, and she's extremely cute. See, like with a Black American film, it's going to be the love interest is going to be someone that looks similar to Lauren London. That is the quote unquote Black love interest of the film. And I'm not saying, like, when I was younger in the 80s, a lot of times a black girlfriend, like in Beat Street and stuff, that they would choose as the black girlfriend, it would be like a Ray Dawn Chong, you know, in the movies. She was like the poster, she was the go-to for the black girlfriend of like Ray Dawn Chong. You know, if you she played, for those who don't know, in The Color Purple, she was Squeak. Wait, you just a big old hopper, who this woman? And we know that, you know, she's very much mixed. Let her tell it. She's Chinese. Tommy Chong of Cheech and Chong is her dad. Yeah, so it'd be usually someone like that. And I'm not saying that she shouldn't be, you know, or like, at least they tried to mix it up in the 90s. But even still in the 90s, still Gina was the love interest on Martin. Even in Boomerang, you know, even though you had Leela Roshan, you had Robin Givens, but in the end, Holly Berry was the ideal girlfriend. We've been seeing this over and over again, especially when we're talking about like in Black American media. And so, and I'm not saying that we can't have Leela Roshan or Holly Berry. Do you understand what I'm saying? Even, well, Holly Berry's biracial, okay? But I'm just saying, I'm nobody's saying it. But when that's all that you're saying, that's what you're usually seeing, even though they don't, you know, even though Lauren London is not the majority of black women, if we are to even still consider Lauren London black, because, you know, now people are talking like they don't want biracial even as part of the black ethnicity, which I think is kind of, I can't say that I agree with that. Okay. Almost like that's like saying they can't be part of the black family. And I don't, and I'm not going to agree with that. But, yeah, it's really a shame that it's not as many people. What's going on? Yeah. Listening. But I'm glad for those of you who are here and still with me and appreciate what a sister has to say. Okay. I do appreciate you. But yeah, I definitely feel that, yeah, if we need to get used to seeing more of this. Okay, this is South Africa. We need to see more of this. Now, I'm not saying exactly how it was in that show, because, like I said, I have my, you know, the thing that with the whole Blood and Water series, for instance, it's supposed to be for, you know, it's like a teenage crime series or whatever, but I would not want if my daughter was still a teenager, I would not want her watching it, because I'm not, there was too much shown with what they're supposed to be teenagers, even though the actors just happen to be 18 and over, but they're playing teenagers and they were showing them drinking alcohol and stuff. You understand what I'm saying? And yeah, so I can't say I approve of that, and the sexual stuff that I was seeing. Okay, like they have in this pansexual character, but you know how South Africa's been influenced by the Western world. So of course there are still the things, even like with this series, there are still the things that I can't say I approve of. Now, yeah, this was a very dysfunctional relationship and family. Yet, and still, what I'm saying though, in just talking about the love interest, the bride on the right, the woman on the right, who is the bride is a beautiful black woman. You know what I'm saying? Showing that, and if we get used to that. And it's the same when you consider Olandria, you get used to and that's the thing. That's why I would love to talk to these people, say that Olandria is funny looking. Okay, well, why? Now some people went as far and went into detail, but I love to ask them why she's funny looking to you though. I'm not saying that you gotta hey, if it's not attractive, just like with Holly Bailey. You had people saying that she got alien eyes. They're distant, wide set. Well, that is an Africoid feature, wide set eyes. Now I notice that people, like with people have gotten used to it with Holly Bailey. Now they're seeing her as more exotic, or her beauty as being ethereal, almost like alien-like. Because see, it's an alien to them because they weren't used to that. They weren't used to, you know what I'm saying? And so I feel it's the same. like with someone with cheekbones and the prognathism that Olandria had. Like, why is it we don't talk about, like I said, we don't really talk about facial prognathism. Okay, yeah, Shelly is a cutie. And if you like softer features, now some people just say, well, anything that they feel is extreme, they may feel that Olandria has a little too much facial prognathism. Like they feel like, oh, it's not that they got anything against prognathism, but they may feel like with Whoopi Goldberg, anything that is excessive to them, it can't be attractive. If it's too much or too little, like they feel that the prognathism, her mouth is excessive in comparison to the rest of her face, being that the rest of her face is small. And then she has, unlike Shelly, who has more facial fat. That's also a thing too. I don't think that's necessarily Western world. I think too there are men who they may see Shelly as more youthful looking, being that like she has a fuller face, more facial fat, and so they think of a baby. They think, I mean, not a baby. I don't want to sound like men are PDFs, but they may think youthful, as in like I say, they think Shelly, they think princess, they see Olandria, they see queen. Also, there are guys. Wait, I thought I was showing. Dang it! I hate when I think that I'm showing something and I'm not. That ticks me off because as I was talking, I was showing different images. I forgot I had this. Oh, I just don't like the way it is with StreamYard. Yeah, they may see Shelly, they see Princess, they see Olandria, they see Queen. Also, like I said, they may be looking at Olandria's eyebrows being more arched, whereas Shelly's are more relaxed. So they may feel that she has a friendlier, more youthful look. Honey, it is not about, they both have like noses pretty much. If anything, Olandria's might be a little smaller in the bridge area. She just has more flared nostrils. But that's the thing. Yeah, so I was pointing out, showing with Olandria's facial prognathism. There are some people feel that she has a small head and she has excessive prognathism for her face. And there are some people, oh, it's not necessarily a race thing. It's just a thing of too much of this or too little of that. But I really do think that people don't realize, like, okay, this idea that a Black woman with protruding cheekbones, or some people think that's a strong look. Like in the case of, what's her name, Teyana Taylor, or like Dionne Warwick. But where do you think that come from? Where the idea, why do we see that as not so feminine? What, you feel it's not soft looking? But all I'm saying is, why don't we ever question why? Why do we see such cheekbone, or she kind of got cheekbones, face somewhat similar to wait, I think this is, even though this might be a little AI enhanced or something, but I think this is yeah, some people see that's a stronger look, but why? I'm just saying, like, I do think that we should like look at what it is that may shape our preference. Do you think that it has something to do with the culture, the quote, I don't want to say, I shouldn't say, but dominant culture? Do we think that Western world standards may have something to do with why we may see certain things as being more masculine versus feminine? The idea of longer hair versus bigger hair. Like, there are some people who felt that the afro on a woman, that was a strong look. Or, you think Black Power, you think you think of a strong woman. Whereas they may see a softer look as being hair that hangs. Now, how could you not see an afro that resembles cotton or a dandelion? How could you not see that as anything but soft? That's what's odd. How could you not see that as a soft look? But that's why I love like with what's her name, Tiana Harris. or Tiana Paris or Harris. I love how she has been. I always would use her. Wait a second. Oh yeah, Tiana Paris. That's it. Goodness gracious. I always use her. I love what she has been doing and giving all these different looks with the natural hair, showing whether she adds extensions or not. It's all, Africoid, showing a softer look, showing that it doesn't just have to be the halo, the sun look. You could do all kind of things, not just have it just your typical rounded afro, but you can have it. I love what she's doing. Definitely, it's definitely not limited. And even if it is just the halo look, I don't like when it's totally perfect. I prefer afro be like this, not when it's so perfectly rounded. Even if Method Man thinks it's peasy, I kind of just like on a guy. I think it looks better when his afro is not so neat. I don't like definitely with guys. I don't like when things are just too neat looking, where their mustache, everything's so lined up. No, I don't like it when my husband recently got a haircut. I'm like, oh my goodness, it's giving too much to. I'll tell it, giving too much to Rick the Sheen. Like, yeah, it is too. Because the fro head got rather big, and I expect them to get a cut. It's got to look modest. Don't want nothing that's drawing too much attention. But I said I'm not gonna complain about your afro again because I'm so tired of this, like Tariq Nasheed looking hairline cut. It and this is too neat. I think I like when like it's more facial hair things ain't so neat. Like I like when the afro is not so neat. Yeah, but I love, like, how could this be anything but feminine? How could something that resembles cotton and wool and a dandelion, even, how could that be anything but feminine? But then this is just how we've been brainwashed, you know? She is, I love what, at least when it comes to style, I love what I love the optics here. I love what she's been presenting here. And I always use her as an example. And like, yeah, I think we really need to consider this because so y'all thinking it's not a big deal. It's not a big deal. This is just vanity, maybe to a degree, but understand that, like, okay, you may think, oh, we should only worry about these things, texturism, featurism, colorism, et cetera, et cetera. We should only worry about this if this is stopping us from making money, if this is stopping us from getting an education, if this is stopping. Okay, but you got to understand, what does the community start with? To have a community, a quote unquote black community starts with family. Community starts with people coming together. And man and woman, that's how life, well, from the creator on earth, life start, man and woman coming together first. And to come together, you got to first be attracted to each other. You have to first be attracted to each other. To come together, you got to first be attracted to each other. And if you are not attracted to each other, if we're not attracted to each other, then, because that's where it all begins. So this is very important. It's very important. And we definitely should pay attention to media. Taylor was, let me see, how old is these people? I'm guessing they're still in their 20s from Love Island. So Taylor was a kid. What was he watching on TV? He was watching video. Probably, we know these kids were watching these videos, even if we tried to keep them. I remember I tried to do the little block thing. I didn't know my daughter was a secret Nicki Minaj fan. She's in her 30s now, but I didn't know. Wow, it's been that long? I didn't know she had a Barbie, something. So, and I remember I used to, with me having to go to work in college still, tried to put the little parental block. No, my daughter was secretly into Nicki Minaj and stuff. But yeah, my daughter, she likes, Chris Brown when he was, and my daughter is a brown skinned girl. Yeah. So I'm sure she wouldn't have mind, seeing Chris Brown with someone who, kind of looked like us. But I'm just saying, like this guy Taylor from Love Island, I'm assuming he's a young guy in his 20s. And so he probably, saw them videos from that era. Okay. Because they've been watching that stuff since they was a child, even if they shouldn't have been watching it. I know all the videos I watched when I was a child. And I didn't, and it was kind of hard not seeing females that really looked like me in the 80s. But the thing is, we barely saw black folks being like MTV and stuff didn't really play music videos. So while y'all making fun of that, don't look any further. I'm seeing people making fun of that. I was liking seeing two black people. You know what I'm saying? It ain't like we were even really seeing as many videos. We used to be eager to see Michael Jackson's new video on Friday, Billie Jean on Friday night video. You had to wait all the way to Friday night on NBC to see the new videos and stuff. So of course, but sadly, you didn't in the 80s, especially, you didn't always see black women, or at least black women who look more so like yourself, or something you could just relate more to. But we were just so happy to see anything that looked somewhat like us. You know what I'm saying? And that matters. And so let's say Taylor was a kid. What was the music videos of the 2000s? Like when he was like a little kid, them first, what was the stuff? I know I'm going to be off, but he saw a lot of females that look like Jennifer Lopez, and because it was that time of the Jennifer Lopez types. What was he seeing in the videos that were of his culture, of his ethnicity? The music videos and stuff, and the films and all that. When he was a little child, it was Save the Last Dance. What was he saying? Or just a Tyler Perry song. What was he seeing that was represented as the love interest? Y'all don't think that has some sort of effect? If we are not attracted to each other, like I said, we can mock people in other countries, women bleaching their skin, like in India and African nations and in the Caribbean. We can mock these people, but you gotta understand that some of these places, a woman's survival depends on how she looks. You still got women in some of these nations where they are dependent on getting married and being taken care of by a man. They're depending on men. They're still dependent on men for security, unlike how it is, in the United States and more so in the West. I'm not saying that. I know I'm stereotyping, but there are some still these countries where they're in, or at least still these areas, even if it doesn't represent the entire nation, but there are still, these communities where the woman, I'm not saying it's necessarily, where the woman is dependent on being taken care of by the man. And, like it's interesting, even watching with this Blood Sisters, you had this woman, not this one here, but she's an Igbo woman marrying into this wealthy Yoruba family, even though there's this guy that really loves her, that her boyfriend that she had. Now we could say she's wrong for leaving Kenny to get with Cola, who is rich. But come from a wealthy family, but she's also thinking of her parents and her father's business. It's helping her father's business by hooking up with this wealthy family. She's not even just thinking of herself. She's thinking of her family. She's thinking of, even though, come to find out this man Cole is abusive, but his family's wealthy. You can call her a gold digger, whatever, but that's about her survival. She's thinking, and even though she tells her mom that the guy's, he's abusive, she's like, no, just because of a slap, just because of, so she's thinking, man, I'm thinking I got to think of my family too. And, me not being with this guy caused my father to have a stroke or whatever, and his business, he won't get the business loan, he leaves. There's some people where they feel that, especially if you're a woman, and we are definitely critiqued and first judged and perceived by how we look or how beautiful how young we are, how youthful, how beautiful we are. So of course, men are not going to understand that. Like when it comes to weaves, and also that's just part, like I said, wigs, weaves, nails, lashes. That's also girls having fun. That's something that men cannot fully understand. However, men do understand the pressure, unlike women, to make more money. See, that's where men are more likely to be judged on how much money they're making. Can they provide to, so of course, that's going to be more important to men over how they look. But with women, men ain't getting, well, most men ain't getting what they're not first thinking about how much money this woman make. Well, most men. There are some men who are, but they usually call them gigolos, con artists and gigolos. But yeah. So that's going to be more important to a man. Whereas there's some women, if they feel like having lighter skin, like in some of these Asian nations, they feel that this is going to get them out of this situation, or where they can have them, where they can have children that are taken care of. And so if they feel that if the trophy wife, if they are being told that the trophy wife, she has lighter, brighter skin, and I'm not saying that make it right. So yeah, that's going to, if they're feeling, and even certain men, like I don't know how it is in the Dominican Republic, but if they really that serious about, how light your skin is, because I remember I had a Puerto Rican, how he told me they look at race. He said and they look more so at how light versus how dark. They're not just looking at your features and all that. They look at really light versus dark, because you got some of these people still influenced by the lie. I'm not talking about, the Bible does not talk about hand that they curse. That's from the Talmud. But there are some people, they are in that mind state of blanqueamiento or whatever. And they're serious about that. Because you notice, like in these Latin American countries, you notice that the people who are usually in positions of power, they are the whitest looking people. You never really see a Sammy Sosa type in a position of power. And you never see that in these Latin American countries. So they take that serious. They're still very much, and they want to make it like the Catholics are the good guys versus the Protestants. Man, please, a lot of that stuff, it goes back originally to the Catholic Church. Really, the Babylonian Talmud. But give me a second, y'all. It's that time. Okay, yeah, it's about that time, y'all. Yeah, so this is something really to consider. Let me get closure. We really need to take this into consideration. Yes, we should allow for all the diversity, but as long as allow for diversity, light, dark, just like these South African films, but don't forget the majority. Allow for diversity, but make sure what represents, the majority. That's all that's being said. Okay? Take consideration of the majority, and the majority in the aesthetics that represent the majority. It should definitely represent majorly. Okay, it should not be the token. A dark-skinned sister, for instance, it would be ridiculous if I saw a hip-hop video and it was a whole bunch of black men brothers, like right in the hood, but the dark-skinned brothers, they were like few and far between. That would make no sense, even if we were talking about my city of Chicago. and definitely we talking about the South. That even if we were in New Orleans, that would make no sense if I saw just like some, like if I saw a music video and they were just showing a whole bunch of brothers in the hood, North Carolina, and then the brothers who happen to be brown to dark skin, they were like just very few and far. That wouldn't make sense now, would it? It's they were just like lit tokens, one here or there, and there was a whole bunch of guys in the video. They always looking like Drake, right? And I'm not saying that they ain't in the hood, because especially if we were talking like New Orleans with the Creole, I'm not saying that, but they're still not the majority. So that wouldn't make it. That's unrealistic. That's all that's being said. That's it. That's all that's being said. Like we know that there are colored people in South Africa. We know that there are mixed people. They're not the majority. And like I said, the thing is, yeah, you have right to your preference, but I think you really need to question what it is that's influencing your preference. Why is that your preference? Have you ever thought about that? Why that is your preference? And somebody said, okay, well, I remember somebody saying to me, they're like, I was supposed to be offended as a black woman, as a quote, being that I'm still referring to myself as black at the time. And they were trying to get me mad at it. Like, for instance, when I remember they were coming to me. Now, when I stopped following Christy's channel, it was not about her addressing colorism and all that. No, it was just about, the promotion of the swirl. I mean, just bottom line. And if she wants to promote that, that's fine. It's not just about her being a swirl. Like, let's say if she was a swirl, there are people in interracial relationships, male and female, who I've been subscribed to and following. And like I said, one of the coolest brothers in here that I remember. I haven't seen him in a while. He just happened to be in an interracial relationship. There was a couple of brothers, they black. How many? Yeah, it was a couple of brothers up in here. That I was cool with, and they were cool with me. They were they hella respectful to it, and sisters. My girl, well, let me not put her name out there. Maybe she don't want me to, but you are, Jeannie. I don't know what happened with her, and they happen to be in interracial relationships. But it's just another thing, they're promoting it, or like, let's say if the YouTuber was not talking on that tip before, that's all I'm saying. If they weren't like that before, and now that's all it was. That's all it was with her. That's all it was. But otherwise, I totally agree. Otherwise, just like with Rashida Strobe, but I don't agree with Rashida Strobe on everything, that she's saying, like this idea that if there are those who believe that nowhere a dark-skinned man should at all be with her. Of course, I can't agree with that, considering my husband and all. I still love Rashida Strobe. I don't agree on everything, but I understand where she's coming from. You don't have to agree with things to totally understand why a person may be saying this. And of course, I can't agree with that. And I just happened. It just happened to be my skin is lighter than the majority, but I am still of a black family. I come from the womb of a melanated woman. Do you understand what I'm saying? Both of my parents happen to be darker than us. I can't help the way that my complexion came out. I can't do nothing about that. But the majority of people in my family are very dark skinned, very dark skinned. I got a lot of people, like on my mama's side, they are Rashida Strobe's color, her siblings. Okay. My mama, who was a darker one, like a dark cinnamon, like I said, she was as light as it got with her siblings. That's how it is on my. So, it's highly likely that I'm going to be, if I choose to stay with the black ethnicity, which I'm said to belong to. It is highly likely I'm going to be with someone who's darker than myself. Okay, I can't. What can I do about that? Okay, I'm not going to be setting out trying to purposely seek someone. I never set out to purposely seek someone. That would be a hard search. But it doesn't mean I have anything against my brothers who happen to be of a lighter complexion. Absolutely not. That is not me at all. I love all my brothers, all of them. No, it's not. Who? I'm not policing. I ain't policing. I'm just saying what I would like and what I think that we should see more of. But there is nothing wrong with, like, if white folks say, like, even a David Duke type, I want to see white people, I want to see Europeans with Europeans. It ain't nothing. Why is that wrong? Why is that wrong if you say you want your grandchildren, your family to continue? Like, let's say if Joe and Catherine Jackson said, and it don't mean they don't love their grandchildren how they are, but if they were to have said, let's say, I want my I love my mama's nose or whatever. I love the nose I got from my mama, and I want to see that nose carry on into generations because I just love my mama's nose or my daddy's lips. So there's nothing wrong with that. There's not, like Muhammad Ali said, nothing wrong, even though we know his grandchildren. You got to. But there's nothing wrong with you wanting to, you wanted to still see, and it's actually that's where you're going to see more diversity. This idea of everybody getting together and that's what ends up diluting out the diversity. And this is not to put down people who happen to be mixed, but this idea if we all come together and race and nothing like that matters. No, I purposely use them for that. That's why I purposely use it. I purposely, with the Jacksons on purpose. Because I'm telling you, they're no longer going to be a black family. Well, I would love to, or they will no longer be Yahuda. Give it about 2 more generations. We say that if there's like a Jackson, the Jacksons today, it ain't going to be no black folks left. But I on purpose, though. On purpose. No, I don't think it's a mutation. I think unless that 1% Nordic, Sweden, or what 1% of Finland really had an effect. Oh shoot! Give me a second, child. Okay, I'm sorry about that, child. Y'all can hear me, right? Yeah. He's not trying to rush me. Oh, okay. All right. Yeah, I just think it's just a recessive. I think it's just well, I think my grandmother on my father's side was of a lighter complexion. I definitely believe it's from my father's side, but most of her family, this is off that on my father's side. That's where I got the coilier hair, if you want to say nappy hair. I got my thick, my wide nose. So that's another thing too. Who's to say what side of the family is blacker? On my mom's side, the features are narrower and smaller. None of them have big lips. None of them have, not like me. But that's more on my father's side. That's where I got my wider, broader, more Afrocoid features from my father's side. But that's also where I believe my complexion comes from. My paternal grandmother. And you see, so who's to say? Who's to say what side of the family is quote unquote blacker? The family with the broader, bigger features, or the family with the darker skin? Who's to say? What side is blacker? Or like the side that appears more negroid by the features, or the side of the family that appears darker by complexion. Although the hair texture may be looser, you understand what I'm saying? That's what's so fascinating. That's what's so fascinating about our people. That's what I think is so very fascinating. um, but yeah, yeah, it's just like when you look at this image here. Okay, you have Pulang, both South African. Sure, her features are, maybe slightly broad, but the skin is a little bit lighter. You can see the koi, yeah, perhaps. Yeah, so sometimes it could just be a thing of a recessive trait, not necessarily a mutation, but but it could just be, like a recessive trait, just, and things could skip over generations, and that's all. Yeah, my brother said my mom was very shocked. Well, my oldest brother, when I was born, my complexion, not very. Yeah, I guess she didn't expect me. I'll show a picture of my father, and I can show you him like a picture where in the sun. Yeah, and he's definitely my father. Those are definitely my people. So she was. So these things do happen. It is not so rare. My cousin, my auntie and uncle who I said I lived with, both of their parents. My mama's sister, very dark skinned woman. Her husband, he's dark skinned, even if not as dark, but he's more in the chocolate. But my mom's sister was a rather dark woman. They both have a child that's caramel skin. How that happened? And you could definitely see the mom and daddy in that child. Now she's just a little bit darker, like I guess you could say she's in the toffee brown skin category, but she was caramel skin. So how that happen? How that happened twice in one family? How that happened twice in one family? Who? Let me see. You often get time get. You oftentimes gets. Why you love telling me where I'm wrong about something? I don't do this. I don't do that. You oftentimes get your ethnic analysis wrong. Take Myron Gaines for AKA Amru Fudo. You were fooled by his bleached skin and hair weaves. Who said that? But what is? Well, hold on. You say I'm trying to even remember what you're talking about. There, I'm telling you. I think Myron Gaines, aka Amru Fudo, I was one of the earlier people exposing him up in here, and his name. What? You assumed he was mostly Arab. Okay, if you say so. All right. If that's what you believe. His brother did a DNA test. He is in the 90s, sub-Saharan Africa. Okay, I'd like to see that. Sub-Saharan Africa, really? Really? Seriously? Okay. Yeah, but sub-Saharan man, but what's the I bet you that haplogroup is E1B1B. Yo, you got people like, yeah, okay, so I'm gonna see that. I want to see the details of that. He I don't see him as being in the, I guarantee you, don't get me wrong, I believe E1B1B was originally black. I do. First, I don't believe, just like his name wasn't no Myron Gaines. Now that, I gotta say I don't believe it. And if that's it, then I don't, let me see his brother. Let me see Myron Gaines' brother. Do you know that he is not indigenous to the Sudan? I mean, his people are not, his ancestors not indigenous to what is now the Sudan. Let me see this brother here. I'm seeing a brother. And what does an Arab? It doesn't necessarily mean mixed race, but it can be mixed nations. But as long as people realize, dude is Edomite. But there are black descent. I do believe Esau was originally black, though. But definitely, hold on. I'm looking it up myself. Okay, hold on.
I will I'll have it where I'm sure these guys probably have questions for you, Riyadh. And shout out to you, man. Brave as hell coming on stream with your face on, nigga. Damn, man, what the hell? And bro, you slacking with the waves, man. Like, what's going on here? You should be you're not brushing.
Bro, brushing
hair.
I
thought yeah, it is a waste of time. You might as well cut that shit off, man. You get lazy.
don't get mad. It's still here. It's still here. Right? We're not fitted yet.
Yo, bro, yeah, but that shit is trash on the top, man. It's only on the side.
I know. I don't brush my hair anymore. I don't know. It's just stuck there. Are you spinning, nigga? Your hair is straight as hell.
Well, hold on.
The way they even try to say nigga, it's so forced and it just sounds so. Well, I can't stand this guy. But anyway,
hold on, bro. Hold on. When I had my shit going, I destroyed you and everything. So I don't even want to hear nothing. I cut my shit off because I just was defeating you so bad that there was no point for me to keep my hair.
I can see you did have better waves than me. You got softer hair than me.
Yeah.
So
what, nigga? No, you have the real naps. That means you can get the real waves.
My hair is much harder.
Yeah, you got the real naps, man. You're like a straight, real black person.
That's not that.
Why are you share this with me? Why? So you trying to trigger me up in here? Why you share this? Oh goodness, I can't. So yeah, his yeah, okay, all right. And you say sub-Saharan, okay. Yeah, Warren, you're not new. You know I've been talking about the San Khoisan people.
That bad. It's all right, man.
Yeah, you
I guarantee you, this guy is partially, yeah, he's, I'm gonna say he's probably predominantly E1B1B. And like I said, I believe Esau was originally black, but I bet you he is also of the J haplogroup. He is also sharing of the J. I believe this guy got some Turkic ancestry. And you know that, where's these DNA results? You know that this guy, come on, he's such an obvious, come on, Myron Gaines, such an obvious plant. This guy is like straight up plant. Straight up agent Gaines. Come on now. Come on now. You oh, stop playing. Stop playing. This guy, I'm telling you, stop playing. No, it makes sense. It makes sense. Stop playing. Stop playing. I just found a picture here. Stop playing. Stop playing. That's his brother. And even with his man, stop playing. Don't get me wrong. You got some but let me get out of here, y'all. I think I've made my point. Oh, okay. Stop playing. See how they got carried away. Okay, let me get out of here, y'all. We go out to catch. Now you finna have me look at all that. Because I don't want to talk about these people no more. I see something you shared with. Like, why you share that with me? I just seen it. Yeah. I was looking at. I just noticed it like last night. Something you shared on your community tab on Eminem. Yeah, I have shared that with all him saying the N-word. Even I put them videos on private over here all the time. The compilation of him saying the N-word. I was one initially. But I'm looking in I don't know what's got me more mad. Hearing this again from Eminem, or I look in the comment section. It was definitely different than when it was over here on my comment. I should take them videos off private over here on Eminem. Totally different response, almost as if there are people paid to be in the comment section. I don't know what's making me madder because I just looked in the comment section and I'm seeing with all the N-words, seeing how people responding, since this is something more relatively recently uploaded, but I had uploaded this years ago with the little compilation of, with of him saying the N-word. I gotta get out of here. Okay. All right, y'all. Yeah, I get back with y'all. Yeah, I say it's very dark. I'm not saying that I'm not saying, but okay, I'm gonna get back on that. We gonna catch up on that for sure. The show got me wanting to look into it. All right, I'll get back to y'all. Peace and love, family.